Peace and respect to you all, and welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of traditional religions, the acceptance of truth. GS, if you are speaking, you are muted. So tonight, I'm just going to have an open panel to discuss anything religion. Peace and respect, Marty Camejo. Anything that anyone wants to talk about on religious topics. I think that there is a way to justify against the actuality all of these ancient religions. The ones that I'm aware of, the ones I'm not yet aware of, which is interesting. Here's a little anecdotal story, although it's personal in nature. Unless you think me a liar, it may have value to you. So I'm talking to this Australian friend of mine, calls himself Remember Sammy Jenkins, and considers himself an atheist, pretty hardcore atheist, and real bright guy. He's a deconverted Jehovah's Witness, and I was saying to him that the understanding that I have translates religions, even those I haven't heard of yet. And he said, well, let's put that to the test. So, unfortunately, you could only find like children's comic books of Aboriginal Dreamtime religion. But he started reading these to me and translating them because of his prior knowledge with the Bible was sometimes as long as one sentence, sometimes as short as one word. And I believe he read me 4 different stories. So it's that kind of understanding, that kind of an overarching umbrella kind of view that makes me so sure that what I'm saying is true. And what would that mean if that is true? Well, just like anything else, if you can become an expert in, say, painted medium art, and you learn what Rembrandt looks like, well, then you're able to say, oh, this unlabeled painting over here, that's a Rembrandt, and be correct about it. And you see the brush strokes, so to speak, the usage of color, so to speak. And eventually, with that kind of an overview, you can say, well, that's a valid Rembrandt right there, even if he didn't sign it. And what does that mean? Well, in real terms, it would indicate there's a singular painter to all of these stories, which is what I believe the truth is. That all of these ancient religions, not the new ones like Scientology or Church of Jesus Christ Scientists, not that stuff, but all of these ancient religions have a singular authorship. I know of a religion that even mentions this singular authorship idea spread all over the earth. Like it or not, the Quran mentions something that in English I probably am pronouncing poorly, the Injil. And the Injil means, let me copy and paste this. The Injil means the original word of God that got lost over time. See, but it's their interpretation of the Quran that makes them say it was lost over time. I think it hasn't been lost. It hasn't been lost because it's still alive and well all over the planet, which is very, very interesting. Yes, any and all are welcome. Peace and respect. Welcome, Wiz. I'm just going to call you Wiz. So I'm not even going to try to say that.
Amen. That's fine. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me up.
Oh, my pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
You were talking about the Rembrandt stuff and views and all that. And I want to pull something up as soon as I find it here.
Take your time.
And it goes to the aspect of this puzzle that we're looking at and how we perceive it. And it goes into depth of, there's other views that you can see. And so it kind of interferes with the overall objective picture sometimes.
It can.
So let's take a look. And it's interesting how somebody is taking advantage of this. Oops, wrong one.
Sorry, you're going to find the right one in a minute.
There we go. Now, it says this artist uses jigsaw puzzles with the same die cut pattern to make these terrific mashups. So what it is the pattern is one thing and the picture on top of it is another. So he's got multiple pictures that are made by the same manufacturer that use the same die cut, and he just bought multiple puzzles and used pieces from different puzzles to put it together.
Right.
So sometimes.
So here we have the iron horse.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing what you can do. And this is what happens with our memory sometimes. Over the years, our memory gets confused and changes and alters.
Yeah, that's our nature. We hate gaps.
Exactly. What happens is we end up with a gap. So in our mind, we grab something that will at least fill the gap. It matches by a pattern, maybe not by picture, but by a pattern. So there's some kind of recognition, and we just automatically put it in there.
Right. And one way to really see that firsthand is to go to a family reunion and talk to your relatives. You'll find out that each one of them is wrong about something, and so are you.
Yeah, and so it's, this is like somebody's imagination where the winter around them is totally cold and blustery and stuff, but in their mind, their imagination, the scene right before them centrally is nice and warm and comfortable. This one here, a lot of people may not see it at first, but there's a kitten within a kitten.
Mm-hmm.
And this is showing actually how our minds get confused sometimes. We start filling in gaps that we have a piece that will fit in there, but it's not colored right. And this is the same thing with language. We start filling in gaps with words we think fit, but they're not actually colored right. Colorful language, yes. It is.
I find that I have been guilty of that in the past. Welcome, Odine. First thoughts on what El Perro is saying?
I think all of that stuff looks really cool and trippy. My artist brain is going bananas right now. And I will be honest, I was really listening much. I was kind of enjoying the puzzle pictures, to be honest.
Well, it's kind of like, this guy's using his imagination to put pictures out that other people can see. But in reality, this is oftentimes what our minds will do, particularly in later in life. Like I said, our childhood memories tend to change over time because we end up missing something here and we automatically fill it in with that something that will at least fit. But over a time, we end up telling stories that the younger generations don't believe because they're just seem so outrageous and stuff. This is the kind of picture they're getting in their mind because they're, doing the same thing. They're using through language, different pieces of different puzzles, all kinds of things. And it's a lot to get cleared up. Our imagination is something very colorful, and we have to learn how we use it, not just in the visual form, but in the verbal form, the active form. Our actions speak louder than our words. It's an important topic.
So what do you think, Wizard, of the assertion that I made of singular authorship for all of these ancient religions?
Oh, yeah, that's one of the things I've spoken on several times when I was growing up in foster homes. And I must have been through, I can't count exactly, 15, 20 of them over a period of 5 years. And they were all, church-going people back in the day. But each one of them was a different sect, Baptist or Protestant, Presbyterian, Methodist, but each and every last one of them basically had the same concept: do unto others that as you would have them do unto you. You don't owe no man anything but to love one another. And then as I got older and I separated from the church and I decided to follow other theologies and stuff and got into the Buddhism, Hinduism, and all that, find the same thing. They're all based on the exact same founding principle. I cannot progress myself without helping others. And in that context, that's one of my duties, is to bring forth others in my life, co-creating with another to bring another life. That's the prosperity and abundance that we're actually supposed to bring forth in replenishing the earth with our own kind. In that, we also have the nature of the nurture of all the plants and the life around us that we use to replenish our own energy to do so. It's a revolving cycle, and it all comes from that source of life. Most people call it God, one religion or another. That's the way I explain it. Source of life. There's only one.
Yeah, I looked into well, because I come from European-based society. Welcome back, generally. Because I come from a European-based society, I've heard mostly Christians speak on this issue. And they say something like, oh, we went to this remote tribe. They had no concept of God. And I looked into what they meant by that. What they actually meant was they had no concept of their God. Like they weren't Baptists already.
Absolutely. Well, they weren't converted through that doctrine of discovery.
Right. But I've yet to find a people on the earth who don't believe in God.
Yeah, everybody almost that I know of is at least brought up in the sense that there is something greater. No matter what you want to call it, there is something greater. The sun will take you out. And even if that's just mama, I brought you into this world, boy. I will take you. That you better believe it. That's a force majeure. Most people recognize that force majeure is just a greater force.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is universal. Of course, I've also heard people challenge me, and I would ask you, though I have an answer for this. I would ask you, could it just be human nature that's making these apparent similarities across the globe?
Well, yeah, that's when we went through the quote Civil War, many people think that was about freeing the slaves and stuff. And I'm going to tell you, it goes much deeper than that, to the Louisiana, Mississippi port and having that import-export area there to the southern states. It was all a commercial thing. That's why the 14th Amendment came in. It didn't free the blacks. It enslaved all people into commerce. That's what it did, first and foremost. And then, though it was supposed to be freedom of enslavement of the colored people, blacks, whatever you want to call them, they still had the civil rights movement. From that, all these women, because the economic society was growing supposedly and getting better, providing more conveniences, technologies, and comfort, and seemingly more at peace, there was always a running emergency underneath. It's always been soft martial law. And we've got nothing but a corporatocracy running a bunch of Hitler's willing executioners because they're just doing their job.
So I'm having trouble putting this together. Forgive me. So you're saying tie it back together for me in that how the enslavement of the citizens of the United States is similar to or the same as the assertion that other people have not known God. I'm having trouble.
Because if you try to qualify yourself as a United States citizen and you don't know what United States citizen is, you've again fallen into that false patronymical society, paying homage to that flag and taking on those benefits because you consider yourself a United States citizen rather than a child of God. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. That's when he wrote his word on your heart with the index finger of his right hand. Before thou was cast forth from your mother's womb, I sanctify thee, and I ordain thee a prophet unto the nations. So by making a claim, you're giving up your prophecy. You're now giving forth the law and as written and legislated for the United States under the laws of the United States. Did you know a United States citizen is actually a United States business?
Okay, thoughts from generally?
Well, there's a lot to think about. I kind of want to had some thoughts on something that was said earlier about even the most remote tribe or peoples have some semblance of something greater than themselves. I mean, it kind of goes back to, it seems to me that everyone has a boss, you know? And I mean, and someone rightly said, you know, I'm your mom. I brought you into this world. I can take you out. That means that they're more powerful than you. So the ability to exert will and dominance over another requires the acquiescing of those who are dominated. It's like the Bible scripture that the devil is like a lion that roams to and fro seeking whom he may devour. May requires permission. Slavery requires shackles. Shackles require permission to maintain those shackles. The ultimate no is being willing to lose your life for your own freedom. As the Bible says, those who try to keep their life for their own sake will lose it, but those who will give up their life for my sake will find it. There's freedom and liberty in just being able to say that we are servants to the world because we acquiesce to the world. We don't have to be servants to the world. Matter of fact, we are called to be a peculiar people set apart from the world. And that would entail that we will be persecuted for that sake. And if we maintain that being diametrically opposed to the world makes us enemies, gives us enmity with the world, because friendship with the world is enmity with God. And I don't know who you would choose to I mean, what do they say? Fear not he who can kill the body and has nothing left that he can do to it, but instead you should fear he who decides where you go, heaven or hell, for all eternity. That's who you should fear. And the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. I seek wisdom, and so therefore I fear God.
Amen. Wow, I've seen some new faces tonight. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate your being here, and I hope you have something intelligent to add. Because if I'm thinking poorly about something, I'd rather think correctly about a thing. I'd rather receive the correction than to be comfortable being wrong and thinking I'm right. That seems like a horrible place to be. That's the place of a child.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. That's why I do the research, and I tell people all the time, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. And for crying out loud, folks, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. Simple. Hey, what's
First
up,
thoughts based. Welcome based and first thoughts.
Well, on what you were just talking about, I'm not sure, but on the challenge me on religion atheist, I have some thoughts.
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, so my first thoughts, where I'm coming from, and I know you and I have spoken a bit about God and religion and things like that, is there's evidence of God all over the place. However, I am not religious. I do not subscribe to Christianity or any other religion, nor am I hateful of anyone based on their religious choices. But to be very frank, I see them as cults. I really do. Many of the different facets, what they are. With that said, books like the Bible that are apparently written by God, but through his disciples, people during the times. Anyways, I think that there is a lot of good lessons within them. As far as their proof of Jesus and, some of the individuals based on miracles, etc., I don't buy it. That is not for me. But it also doesn't change my stance on the evidence of God. I look at God as the universe, right, the creator. And therefore, I think anything is simple, but at the same time, miraculous as a birth is evidence of God.
So you're saying you see God in the beauty, maybe even in complexity, and what
Sure.
do you think of the idea of the Satan?
Of Satan, yeah. I relate Satan to evil, and evil as shown through actions. I don't know if we can really put people under the binary. We do in our own purviews as this person is evil, etc. But really, it's based on actions as far as I'm concerned. So when somebody talks about maybe under religious purview, that was the work of Satan, I see that as that was something very evil that goes against morals, that goes against love, aka God.
Okay, so that's something like, and I just want to steel man it and tell me where I go wrong if I go wrong. Okay,
Sure.
So that's something like a philosophical pantheism with the philosophy of aesthetics and morality. Is that something close to correct?
Pantheism, I'm not familiar.
Well, the term simply means that the reality is the God.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And there's variations of that. Peace and respect. Welcome, Marty. Marty, first thoughts.
Well, I, as a pagan, don't.
Okay, you're going to have to get closer to your microphone or something. It was good volume at first, and for a millisecond, then it died suddenly. So, what can we do to fix that?
Hold on. I might not be talking very loud either.
I've got you at 200%, and it's not enough.
Hold on. How's that? Is that better?
That's good. I'll control it from there. Thank you.
Okay. As a pagan, I don't live in fear of my deities, which are in and of nature. But lately, I've been kind of having like I guess a crisis of faith, if you want to call it that. I'm kind of not sure if because I don't see the supernatural, and I don't do the supernatural thing. So I'm, even though all my deities are in and of nature, I'm kind of wondering if there would even be there at all. Just through like certain events in my life where I would like credit A, my hard work, or B, whatever deities thank you to this one or thank you to that one. Just a series of events and certain events in my life maybe kind of go, maybe there aren't any gods.
Well, interestingly enough, I have the same question for Based Oracle and yourself, and would request that so that each of you have had time to think about it a little bit. What makes something worth worship or honor or deep reverence or great appreciation, something like that? Based?
I can answer. Yeah. So I think, again, I'm going to use the term love, which is not pragmatic in a sense, right? So I think that's what separates those who have faith. For instance, I can look at the birth, I brought that up as an example, as just, oh, this is just Big Bang, this is just science, this is, whatever. We evolved from monkeys, whatever it is. Meanwhile, looking at it under the purview of love, I think really changes the concept, but faith is needed in order to do that, because I cannot prove these things that I'm talking about, nor do I have the desire to prove them. I don't think that they should be proven. I don't think that human beings are meant to know everything.
And would you like me to repeat that, Marty? Or
I do agree with that. That human beings aren't meant to know everything. I agree with that. I don't agree with I don't remember who was saying it because I was laying down, so I didn't see. But I don't agree with fear. The beginning of knowledge is fear of the Lord, or fear of the Lord is beginning of knowledge, or whichever way it goes around. Because I choose not to live in fear. I choose not to, I can have wisdom and knowledge and not be afraid of the world around me, or be afraid that I'm going to get in trouble if I find something out. Like the last time I was afraid of that was when I would peeking at Christmas presents when I was a kid. That's the last time I was afraid of knowing something. But in general, I don't think fear should be a part of belief. I don't think fear should come with it. I don't think fear should come with love. I don't think it should. I don't think
Well,
in the
well,
terms
tell me, Marty, what should have your respect, your love?
something that would love and respect me back. I mean, I'll say by I don't know. I don't want to say maybe by actions, like, if I say, "Oh, I need some money," and all of a sudden, bam, the goddess makes it so that I win the lottery. Like, oh wow, thank you. Like, I don't want to say stuff like that, but because I don't believe in miracles either, because miracles are supernatural. I don't know. I'm kind of wrestling with my idea of my gods in the first place lately. So,
Well, this is a great time to ask a brain, when they're reconsidering things, is a great time to ask questions to see where they stand without any previous biases they may have had,
right.
Which is why I want to have a conversation soon with Skylar Fiction as well. He's promised he'll set some time aside for me, and that should be a good conversation like yourself. Other
Yeah, I
people's
try,
thoughts.
man.
Odine, you tried to say something. If you'd wait your turn, I'd call on you.
Okay, I'll behave.
Yeah, go ahead, boss. Go ahead.
I wanted to address the idea of what it means to fear the Lord, or to fear God, as some people would say. It doesn't literally means fear. It's basically a biblical concept, basically saying you're trusting in God to give you wisdom, or or it reminds you to be mindful of your behavior if it's going to be contradictory to, what God wants for you, and how you treat your neighbor and stuff like that, and giving your undivided attention to a person who is in need, or for prayer purposes, like when you pray, not necessarily like praying in front of people, but when you're praying in private, right? You would essentially just ignore everything else, and you focus on your praying, whatever that may look like. So that is the meaning behind the phrase. It's not like being afraid of God. I mean, I think if you have knowledge of a being that could snap you out of existence, I mean, I think having that fear is just going to be, innate, I guess, right? But the term, that's basically what the term means and what it stems from.
I'd like to give an overall umbrella assessment. I'll call it an assessment. Peace and respect, Joe Cool, of that same thing. The problem here, Marty, is that we grow up in a European society that is fundamentally and pervasively Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just put up with it, and we just hear this stuff. Okay, but the King James, the most popular rendition, and how people really in our society think about the Bible is really through the lens of the King James, whether they want to admit that or not.
That's
just
very
because
true.
of its huge popularity for its poetry more than anything. But that was published in 1610. Well, why do you care, Richard? Well, because it was written in late Middle English. That's why Richard cares. Okay, so just like the word fear is more about the respectful idea that you wouldn't want to mess something up. Like, I fear taking care of my quadriplegic grandfather would be the right way to look at that. Okay? Because we wouldn't use the word fear that way anymore. Another example, well, that's one example, and if I don't want to hog too much floor. Round robin thoughts, starting with Wiz. Or you could choose to just keep looking at his screen, generally specific.
Roger, I took some notes on the notepad here. I have to go back to, well, I want to respond to the last in, first out. Praying in public isn't necessarily bad. It's praying in such a way as to draw attention to how anointed / pious you are. That is problematic. So I don't want people to, be not like the hypocrites, like the Pharisees or the Sadducees that pray standing in the synagogues or loudly on the street corners, praying loudly to others, and put bells on your robes so others will see how pious you are as you come. That said, so in response to what Based was saying, and again, I'm trying to steelman perhaps his argument, and what I think perhaps most agnostic or maybe even atheists probably would believe. And correct me if I'm wrong, feel free. Does the man-made concept of God for the purpose of using God for man-made aspirations, is that what B.O. and other people like him would be rejecting? And meaning the application of religion seems so self-serving at times as to put God after the collective enrichment of the clergy, quote-unquote, or the quote-unquote org that seeks to benefit from the fear of God, causing them to tithe or contribute or offer. Is that the self-servingness of religion? Is that what kind of turns a lot of people off? Like, because I think we can all agree that you can look around and go, yeah, there's something greater than us that had a hand in this. It's the man-made applications that turns a lot of people off. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, looking at self-serving first off, that phrase, I think that self-serving is misconstrued quite a bit. A lot of things that are deemed self-serving are actually poisonous to oneself. They're detrimental to one's life, yet can be referred to as self-serving, I think often based on an emotion rather than reality, what is. So I don't know that that's my main issue, even extrapolating how I view self-serving. I think that the issues come in part with what you're saying, man-made concepts of God, the religion. For instance, we were just talking about praying a little bit. I think that a lot of religion has praying way off. The way that I view praying is very similar, I would say, to a meditation. It's grounding. I think the more grounded you are, to put it in a way that might make sense to faith, the more grounded that you are in the moment or whatever the case, the more with God you are, the more yourself you are. It's kind of pushing that other energy, other thoughts out of your head. So I look at praying as very different. I think and again, I'm not hating on anyone who says Hail Mary 10 times or whatever and believes that their sins are absolved or whatever the case. I just don't believe in it. I think that, maybe to the idea of self-serving, meaning that somebody can feel better in the moment, feel perhaps that they're more one with God, or that this prayer that they prayed for, I hope that little Jimmy gets over his cancer. I think it's total bullshit cope. I don't think that's how the universe works, how God works. I don't think it's based on how many times you pray or recite a verse, something like that. I think that's nothingness.
I'm kind of with you on a lot of that, actually. Because a lot of the times little Jimmy doesn't get over his cancer, and he's being prayed for by mom and dad and Aunt Barbara and Uncle Steve. And, a lot of times little Jimmy doesn't get over his cancer. And if he does get over his cancer, I credit the science that got him over his cancer first. maybe the prayers might have helped his family cope with, with the ordeal that's going on, and maybe the prayers might have helped little Jimmy kind of stay calm and feel grounded. But that speaks to a supernatural intervention, and I don't swing with that.
Well, and I see two different types of prayer, and we see it a lot. When you brought up the thing about little Johnny doesn't always survive cancer and stuff, people put that prayer, and that's that faith that something will happen for little Johnny and he'll be okay. The other part of faith is when we attempt to do things in our own life, like riding a bike. When we first learn how to ride a bike, we have faith that we can do it ourselves and that we'll make it through because we see other people doing it. So there's a personal perspective that when you get on that bike, that's when you have faith. Whereas little Johnny dying from cancer, it takes this big group of people to show this prayer and faith. And which one really has a greater effect? The one that's got the faith and praying for himself that he can get through this thing called learning how to ride a bike. And that's where the fear comes in as versus to knowledge. You got to overcome that fear of riding that bike and falling off. Whereas if you're dying of cancer, what is there to fear and how do you get over that?
I agree with you.
Is it a test where you go through cancer again and again, like you ride a bike, you keep getting up and after you fall? There are differences. So the prayers and faith are different. And we have to be conscious of this and really understand what that prayer is about. Is it for us? Is it for someone else? And if it's for someone else, are you going to wait until their life is bad and terrible? Or are you going to pray for them by putting that education, the true faith of knowledge of being able to go through this stuff by preventing it through health and the sciences she was mentioning? That's where we're getting a large part of our knowledge for our health today is in the sciences and medicines. I use it to my advantage by making sure my cell salts and magnesium and folic acid, vitamin K, all that is good and going. pH balance tests, all that, litmus tests, everything. It's important. It goes along with that faith. So again,
I'd like to. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
So it's not necessarily just religion. Even the paganists, they have this certain kind of faith, and it operates the same way.
I'd like to point out to people if you're in whatever state and there's this existent law and you don't like it, but you have no choice, you have to live there, and you cannot change that law. There's really no point in you hurting yourself if that law cannot be changed. So I make that example to point out that the problem of suffering is a real and serious challenge in the idea of some kind of sentient God. But it is evident to me that we need to understand and recognize that part of this, like in Buddhism, part of this experience is suffering and should be. And to try to get rid of that kind of suffering, which is not preventable, that sort of suffering, to try to get rid of that is to try to deny the very thing that we are in the experience that we're having. And I think no one should pray for that.
Demonis, can I ask you a question? When you first started, you said that you don't think that if a person can't change the law, that it's smart for them to suffer. And I was curious what you meant. And suffering, if they can't change the law and they can't move from the state, I didn't get how you jumped to suffering. They must be suffering.
No, I said they shouldn't live their life in such a way in rebellion against the fact of the matter that they cause themselves suffering.
I figured that's what you was going. All right, thanks.
As a little aside here, in relevance to how I view God, right? The old saying, God helps those that help themselves, kind of getting back to that doing for self, meaning that if you're loving yourself literally in the sense of, right, being healthy, doing things that are good for you in different ways, even if it doesn't always look like it to the outside world. I think in a sense, on the topic of suffering, suffering is part of that. I think suffering is a good thing, or at least can be a good thing, depends, obviously. Another saying, those who know how to suffer best suffer the least, right? Getting good at, for instance, discipline can be a form of suffering, the way that I look at it. Prohibiting yourself from, indulging in things that you want to for instant gratification, maybe things that you might deem yourself addicted to. The suffering of getting off of those copes or drugs.
They, if you allow me a second, they say the definition of to want is to suffer. So you're onto something, right? You're desiring, you're stopping yourself from getting things you desire. You are suffering by definition. So I'm with you so far. Sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't want the moment to pass.
No, you good.
And Exo, may you be blessed as well. Okay, so if it's going to die, I'm going to make an assertion. Did it die, or do more people have more things to say? Go ahead, General.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to the whole prayer thing. Something that occurred to me. The Bible says that the fervent prayer of a righteous man, the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Now, we can't be righteous in our own power, but we can be righteous walking in the Spirit. We can be justified by Jesus, right? So the interesting thing is that, and we were talking about prayers, like, are you praying for yourself or are you praying for someone else? And why wait till the last second to pray for someone else? And so the interesting thing that occurred to me as a young Christian was, I have some testimonies where someone prayed for me in such a way that they held nothing back. And I knew that they held nothing back, right? And it occurred to me that the reason why sometimes our prayers for ourselves might not be as effective is that we know our sins. We know that we're not worthy. We look at ourselves and go, hey, you did this in darkness. And so therefore we probably hold some of that grace back for ourselves, whereas someone who is really trying to pray for you isn't going to hold any of that back, and they might have blind spots to where you might not be worthy of that prayer, right? So that's why I think other people praying for you can be very, very, very effective, because they're not if they're genuinely trying for the best in you, they're not going to hold anything back when they're asking God, when they're petitioning God for intercession. That was my thoughts on that.
Was that the subject? Is prayer effective? Was that the topic? Is prayer effective?
No, it's something we were just talking about.
It's just an offshoot from what we're talking about. I pray every morning, but I pray when I say I pray for myself, like I pray to kind of steady myself in my day more than I'm praying for, like, let's say, GS, you had a broken leg. I'm not going to pray for your leg to get better. I'm going to tell you, go to the freaking doctor, take the pain meds, keep your leg elevated, get the cast on. I'm going to tell you that before I pray for your leg to be healed, because your leg's not going to be healed through prayer. What my prayer for you might be, if I say, hey, I'm praying for you, you might be able to, like, it might kind of bolster your spirit a little bit, and maybe you're more inclined to take the meds and go to the doctor and get the x-rays and do all that, because people are kind of pulling for you. That's kind of how I see prayer. Like, I'll pray for you as other people. I'm pulling for you. I'm hoping that, hoping you win the lottery, and I'm hoping your leg gets better, and I'm hoping, because I don't, I'm pagan and I'm bisexual and I live in the South. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, I'll pray for you. They're not praying for me for the health. And I've actually said this to people. Are you praying for my health and well-being and that of me and my family? If you are, great. If you're going to pray for me to come to what you consider truth and come to your Jesus and abandon what I consider truth, then don't bother. Because that's not, it's not helpful. It's not gonna do anything. You just wasting.
Well, no, with that attitude, it is.
I'm also from New Jersey. But I mean, and I tell them because you hear it so often. I'll pray for you, you bisexual heathen. I hear it all the time. So like, I kind of get numb to it. It kind of gets annoying after a minute. But
I mean,
I see I see prayer like like I say, I pray every morning to steady myself in my day. But if I'm going to pray for like you, GS, it would be to kind of bolster your spirits and to maybe help you steady yourself in your day, because I can pray for your leg to get healed and your leg's not going to get healed. It's just not.
Marty,
What?
Marty, go ahead.
Yelling at me? What?
I get that that people pray for you to change, which is, as far as you're concerned, I'm good. I don't need change.
Yeah,
Do
I'm
you
good.
think that side with you on other prayers people might give?
No,
No, you
no,
don't think it does.
no,
Okay.
it doesn't, because I didn't have that much of a problem back home in Jersey. It was an issue when I came down here. Matter of fact, my first job down here was waiting tables, and one of my first tables on my first day out of training, they were like, "Oh, you're from New Jersey? Oh, that's nice." Blah blah blah. What church do you go to? And I'm like, "Well, I don't really do the church thing. Um, you know, I gotta go," kind of thing. But So if somebody was to say, "Hey, oh, you have like depression and anxiety, and you take medications for that," well, I'll pray for you. I'll pray. I take that as, unless they specify otherwise, as they're praying for me um, to kind of bolster my spirit and help steady me in my day, and make sure I take the meds, and make sure I do the therapy, and make sure I actually do the things that are going to help me heal.
And all of
so
that can
can
be
I?
beautiful, and people should take good care of themselves. And
Yeah.
I think we all recognize that, in the South, when someone says "bless your heart" with that
Yeah.
certain voice tone, or "I'll pray for you," there's a little "oh, you poor idiot" behind it.
Well, there's two types of bless your heart. There's, "Oh, bless your heart." Like, I work two jobs. I'm taking care of my sick grandma, and I have a broken face, and oh, well, bless your heart. And then there's, "Well, I'm bisexual and pagan and from New Jersey." Oh, well, bless your heart. There's two different types. You
There
gotta
is.
listen out. You gotta listen out for which one is which.
There is. And what was that, Odin?
Can I? I think so. This was something that now it might be strange for something like, I guess, praying for other people and just praying in general, that would bother me. But when I say it bothers me, the process or act of doing so isn't bothersome within itself. I think what is bothersome is the fundamental idea is they see God as a form of genie,
Yes.
where and there's nothing to suggest that he is that type of entity.
Yes.
He intercedes and does it based on his will, based on whether he thinks it's right or it's right or wrong, right? And I think that the purpose of praying for other people is just another way of showing love, right? You might not, the the intercession is also another way of showing love, right? You can pray and hope, right? But just by having that thought alone, right? That's good within itself.
I understand and I agree with you. I wonder if everyone on panel agrees with you. That that's a form of love, people praying for you. And it kind of goes, I think that was GS saying that people who pray for you are praying a little differently, that they don't have the reservations that you might have for yourself. And I think
Yeah,
prayer is effective, and I think prayer does a thing. Personally, I think it puts out that vibration in there, on that unseen land that connects us all. That is where it lives. I think prayer plays a huge role. Uh, yeah.
yeah. I'm not disputing that prayer and intercession is not useful or it can't bear any fruits at all, right? But I think the intentionality behind it or the understanding can be a problem, because if you keep praying and praying for something and you're not getting what you want, right? you're now going to realize in your head, you're probably eventually going to say, well, I don't really see the point in praying, right? Because I'm not getting anything that I want, right?
But if you
And
Yeah, I
do
so
get
get.
what
now,
you want, then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of living, doesn't it?
I didn't hear
It
you. What did
could.
you say?
I said if you
He
do get
said it
what you
could
want,
defeat the purpose of living. And Sammy Jenkins has been most polite, and I want to hear first thoughts on entering in. Go ahead, Brother Sammy.
I haven't caught much of the conversation yet, but
Well, let me just
I
directly ask you:
don't.
do you
Yes.
think that there could be a useful form of prayer?
Yes. I don't pray myself. I have no issue with someone that wants to pray for me. I think that any positive inclinations we can hold towards others is a positive thing. So if you're praying for someone, you're wanting, hopefully, you're not praying for God to smite them or something, but generally you're wanting good. And I'm all for that. You know, you're asking for guidance, truth, all of those things are good. So
Does that trigger thoughts in anybody?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, except for the hope you're not wishing ill on people, because as somebody who practices witchcraft, I can wish ill on somebody if I want to. I just don't, because it's a waste of time and materials. So I really could, I really
Well,
could, on somebody, but I ain't got no time for that.
but look at it this way, Sammy, right? Let's say, let's say I develop a really bad drug addict, right? And drug addiction, I mean, and generally specific, finds this out and he prays for me, right? Now, let's say God wants to answer his prayers, right? And what happened is that I, in going trying to purchase drugs, right? There was some kind of bus, shootout happens, I get shot, and because I'm all drugged up, I pretty much almost die, right? But I learned a lesson from that experience, right? I no longer want to do drugs, right? Is
God would
that
be pretty weird if
it's
he did that.
so you
So the
know
question is, was the prayer answered?
It was answered.
it was answered, right? But the way it was answered caused a ton of suffering, right? On my part. Not that I wasn't suffering before, right? But the suffering increased as a result. So whether or not the prayer is, if when I'm going through that process, right? If I found out that, generally specific prayed for me, right, and he didn't really care how I came, I dropped that addiction, right? He just wants me to drop it. Then I'm gonna be like, bro, could you be more specific next time, right? I'm probably gonna be mad or whatever,
That's a
but
pagan thing, actually. When we're doing, seriously, when we're doing work, like if I'm doing spell work and I'm going to ask for something, we have to be as specific as possible. So, like if we're doing
Yeah.
if we're doing a money thing, we can't just say I need money, because you'll find a quarter on the street. Well, that's money. You have to be specific
Yeah.
with the amount that you need and what you need.
God can't figure it out. You have to be super
Yeah.
specific.
So when we're doing the work, when we're doing spell work, we have to be, specific about what we want and what it's for. So that's
Sometimes I see prayer as kind of equivalent to spell work, basically.
It kind of is. It kind of is. It's just I put a lot more work into my prayers when I do when I do rituals and stuff than the Christian praying with their Bible. I gotta get candles, and I gotta get water, and I gotta get this, and I gotta get that, and I gotta set up the circle, I gotta cleanse the circle, I gotta blah 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 blah. I had to do
I mean, yeah, imagine if it said that in the Bible. Everybody be doing that.
yeah, they would actually.
And what's the
Favorite
purpose
trick.
of that?
Purpose of what?
What you were just describing, the candles.
ritual.
and-
Oh, for whatever, like
Well,
whatever.
I was asking what the purpose of it is.
What the purpose of whatever ritual I would be doing?
Sure, yeah.
It
Like the
depends on what.
candles and the water and stuff.
Let me give an example. Why clear the circle?
Oh, because of negativity and people's ego and your own ego, and you don't want any of that mess getting into your work, and so that, because you raise energy, you don't want any of that mess getting into your energy that you're raising. You're responsible for what you bring into that space and what you send out.
So you're praying?
Yeah, I said I pray. I say I pray every morning.
No. I was asking about the candles and everything.
Oh.
Is that I was asking what the purpose was, and you didn't say prayer, so now I'm asking prayer.
That's more ritual, isn't it?
Yeah, it helps you tap into the meta divine realm. That's what the
Well,
purpose
I don't do the supernatural. I'm tapping into the natural. But like it's because what I do is really nature based. Everything I have and everything I use is representative of one of the elements and how we're all connected to the elements in the earth and stuff.
So I got a bit of a pressing, sorry for the interruption, kind of situation here. I just put a scripture down. I'm not sure if you got a chance to read it or not, D-Doc.
I did.
I need guidance on that, because would this be considered an association, or is this considered? I mean, how else would I sow seeds to someone who is a pagan or a witchcraft person if I'm not able to have an association?
I'm actually going to defer to Marty on this. Marty, how do I normally address you, and what is that thing I keep saying over the course of the years?
Well, I'm Richard's favorite witch. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many witches you know, Richard, but apparently I'm the favorite. Mm-hmm. And
I mean to do what to you?
To slay me, but he's just not going to come to my house and shoot me in the face.
Burn the witch.
So there could be a problem if Marty and I didn't understand each other that way. Mm-hmm. So I see your point clearly, and that can be a problem for some people. But Marty and I understand each other in such a way, having the relationship depth that we have, that she understands that what I mean when I say slay is to change her mind in a positive way permanently. Okay, and I actually find it quite interesting that you're saying now, Marty, that you're having some kind of I don't know, you're considering things, and of course that is always a good thing. And of course, I would offer to serve you anytime that I could.
I appreciate you, but yeah, I mean, do you know how much stuff calls for punishment in the Bible? Like everything calls for punishment. Like associating with me is the least of your problems.
Yeah. Would you say also on a shallower level, but I think just as important, Richard, that the association implied there is don't go out doing rituals with them and hanging out, like having a conversation with one. How would you ever bring them the good news if you didn't associate with them? And Jesus always associated with the sinners, and even said, "I'm here for the sinners."
Yeah, you already found a good way to say it. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm trying to determine what is meant by the word associate. You're a pretty deep diver with such things, so I mean, I'm trying to study this out, and I don't want to be dismissive. I think associating is like sharing in their practices per se.
Let's say, for instance, I lit candles beside Marty,
right,
and repeated whatever she'd said.
So it's no different than me going to the local bar, sitting next to, let's say, Sammy, having a pint, smoking a cigarette, and then doing a shot of whiskey with him, and then say, "Let me tell you about my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." He's going to look at me like, what?
Well,
Right?
it depends. It depends. I mean,
A lot would. I'd have a good chat with you, but yeah, a lot would look at you like.
I mean,
how many shots Sammy had.
that would be an association. Whereas if I just happened to walk past you on a sidewalk and said hello to you, that's not an association. Or if I just happened to share a conversation or a thought or an idea back and forth, that's not an association per se. It's tying myself to a person in a meaningful way that takes me away from the Lord and maybe a little bit more neutrally towards what they believe, I guess. Maybe is that what an association?
right.
Well,
That really speaks to our nature and standing up for what we believe, and I think that's really important in a kind of an unusual way. If a person doesn't harshly and severely and the best that they can defend whatever position they might hold, then they're not going to switch that position either.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to get to the arguments that would really persuade them.
Right.
Well, and that's the sticking point for me. And I'll mute after this. I just want to finish the thought of that's where I struggle. Like, how am I supposed to share the gospel if I can't have a conversation?
Things for you.
Go ahead.
On that matter, it does for me anyway. I can't remember where it is, but I'm sure if you typed in a few of these words, you'd find it quickly. But I take this to be descriptive rather than prescriptive when the Bible says bad association spoils useful habits. So if it's spoiling your useful habits, then you could deem it bad association. If it's not having a negative effect.
Well, is
I
she
think
bad
that's
just
the
because
main
she's a
point.
witch? Is she
No, I-
necessarily bad? I mean, she
of it
seems
this way.
pretty decent
I'm a great
as a
person. I really am. I'm a great person. Just because
And humble
She
too.
is
I'm
beautiful.
from New Jersey doesn't mean I'm automatically mean.
Oh, GS. I think Matthew chapter 7 verse 5 should at least clear this up a little bit more for you. And it's simple. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample on them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Right? If you are in association with someone that you are trying to give the good news, right? And the good news, right, which is your pearls and what is sacred, right? If that is something that is being trampled on, right? Because they would ideally understand that this is sacred to you, right? Those are your pearls. If they trample on them, then you go away. Marty
Then
is
you will
not.
know that they're bad association. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right. Now they've turned into swine. So now, if
Well,
you would
that's
want to, but since Marty, for example, right? Marty's not trampling on your pearls, right? I think you're good when it comes to the association, right? Even if your intent is to, let's say, change her mind. So I don't know. I hope that kind of clears that up a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
What?
look at Peter. He gave Paul the right hand of fellowship, even though Paul is the Antichrist.
Is that where robbing from
It's
Peter
not
to pay
bad.
Paul came from?
I think no.
yeah, I mean, I've had, like I said, I live in the South, so I've had people, oh, let me tell you the good news about I'm good, thank you, but I'm polite about. I'm not a jerk about it when I tell people, you don't have to tell me that you can swing a dead cat down here about how I hit in a Baptist. I mean, it's crazy. I tell people, thank you, I appreciate it, but I'm good. I'm not mean about it when I tell them they don't have to. I'm respectful because this is. They have to fulfill the Great Commission. Yeah, so they have to tell me. They have to tell me about Jesus, and they have to try and convert me. It's like their job. But I try and be polite to them, and I tell them, no, I'm good, thank you, but I'm good. And then they get, oh, well, bless your heart. So.
I mean, well, I used to do the same when I was younger, right? Before I got saved and baptized, right? My how I came to Christ was listening to one lady, watching one lady who lived a really good life. I never understood what was so different about her versus the other Christians that I experienced. Right? She never preached to me or anything like that. She just said, the only thing she asked me to do is to like sit down, read the Bible, and go to church every now and then. That's all she asked, right? And one day, I decided to earnestly sit and read the Bible, right? And from there, that's what convinced me. It wasn't a bunch of people preaching to me. It wasn't anything like that. It was me contrasting the way how this lady lived her life, seeing that it was very identical to Christ and seeing how it is very beneficial to me as a person and for the people around me that are in my life. That's really what motivated me for anything, for like any religious experiences or anything like that, right? It just made sense to hold on to that particular belief,
I
right?
got an
It's
idea.
very useful.
How about Marty gives up on witchcraft and, generally specific, gives up on praying? And if you guys both agree to do that, then Marty will become a Christian. How's that? Would you give up praying if she gave up witchcraft, generally specific?
I mean, with respect, are you retarded? I
That
mean,
seems like
with
a fair
all the
trade.
respect I can muster in my heart, I
You
genuinely
wouldn't-
want to know if you're retarded.
You wouldn't stop praying to save her soul?
Now, see, God will not be mocked, and nor will my faith,
It's not
sir.
mockery. It's a
Yeah,
good
that is
question.
mockery. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
he's
100%
not
mockery.
appreciating it. An apology would be most appropriate.
No,
if you
apology is
muster
not
that.
necessary.
I
Just
guess
cease and desist.
It would still be appropriate.
my point is that prayer isn't effective, and I would take the negative stance on the question of the discussion that no, praying is not effective. It's effective as her witchcraft. So you wouldn't be it wouldn't be that bad if you just gave it up. You know.
It works
Okay,
for
well,
your worldview, brother, but not mine. So
Fair enough.
Dirty Varmint, you're gonna have to be just a little bit less aggressive and a little tiny
Okay.
bit more on topic. Okay, brother.
Sorry. Yep. Okay.
Appreciate it. I know you're capable.
I'm not offended. I just reject the premise. I think that for me to not pray would make me not be a Christian, and for her to not pray would make her not be a Christian. So that is nonsensical.
Yeah,
So.
I guess I'm still just kind of on the fence about prayer. I mean, maybe it does. I do think that God will give you wisdom if you pray for that. But I'm not sure about
Well, the
other
Bible
things.
says, "He who seeks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach. But let him ask in faith. For he who asks without faith is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways, like a wave upon the ocean, tossed back and forth by the wind."
Yeah, I
So
tend to agree with that
yeah.
first part of that, where
That's
God will give wisdom.
some pretty hefty gaslighting in the Bible there.
Yeah.
It depends on how you take it. I mean, I really
Yeah.
recommend that you guys don't accept your Christian indoctrination from within your society as what the text is really trying to say. Tapioca Weasel, get in here.
But
Links at
that's
the
like
top.
saying deny our programming, which is we're trying to do, but damn, it's hard. Damn, it's hard.
It is hard. I mean, I had a difficult time with it myself. I was kind of shocked into it, so it was easier for me than it is for most. I admit there was a cheat going on there. But I mean, I've presented you guys lots of these arguments before, but let me just do one real quick, and then I'm going to go smoke a cigarette because I want one real bad. But for instance, small example, the word for a large body of water in the Hebrew is yam, and the word for the flood, the deluge that you've been told so much about, the flood of Noah, that word is mayim. Now, mayim means watery things, true, but it means watery things in really small amounts, like juice from a fruit, or even reproductive semen is a usage for mayim. And if you look deeper into it, in that part of the world at that time, that word was used to show kinship between people. And we have a derivation of that expression today: blood is thicker than water. Right? And we all know what that means. I don't need to explain that. That's sticking with the original idea. So when the Christian 2,000 years later and an ocean away says that it was a flood of H2O, they're just not seeing the idiom. They just don't get it. And that's one example out of literally thousands where you have been taught wrong what the Bible says. I mean, I can prove these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fan of like the Christians that I talk about, because I don't call you a Christian, Richard, because I'm not a fan of those kind of Christians. So, and there's a lot of them down here like that are like, no, my version of the Bible's correct. Their version is wrong. The church down the street is wrong. My church has the correct prayer to save you. And then talk to another guy on the bus. Well, that person told you wrong. My version is the correct version, and my church has the correct prayer to save you.
Sure. Everyone says that, and I'm not much different.
Yeah, and that's people. I don't like when people kind of, I guess, hate on you, because when people say stuff like that, it seems like it's more self-serving to them than it is to that it'll serve whoever they're talking to. Like, it's funny because their God that they believe in matches what they think as a person. Isn't that strange?
Well, let me ask you.
Go ahead, GS.
Well, let me ask you, Marty. Why do you believe in what you believe, and do you not believe in what you believe strongly?
Yeah,
why do you believe it strongly? Why should I be convinced what you believe strongly compared to what I believe strongly? Yours is right, mine's wrong.
Because I don't have to convince you. You do your thing and I do my thing. We don't have to recruit people. Pagans don't recruit people.
So it's a do as thou wilt kind of thing? Isn't that satanic?
No, it's not. Literally, and in harm none, do as you will.
Yeah, that's do as thou wilt. That's Crowley. That's satanic.
Yeah,
well, actually, Crowley misquoted it.
Yes.
Marty's properly quoting it. She did put the qualifier "do no harm" to anyone, which is I mean that would be hard to fulfill as a moral absolute. I'm going to go smoke a cigarette. Remember, Sammy Jenkins, please. Will you have control of the channel anyway?
No problem.
Do as thou wilt. Isn't that Revelation 22:11?
You guys are missing the part where it says, "and it harm none." You're focusing on the wrong parts of the verse there. Well, not really.
Well, Revelation 22:11, it just says, "Let the unrighteous continue to be unrighteous, and the vile continue to be vile, and let the righteous continue to be righteous, and the holy continue to be holy."
Well, that's free will. You're speaking of free will.
Well, it says, let the unrighteous continue to be unrighteous. That's something I will not let. I'm not going to let unrighteous people continue to be unrighteous. No, if I can.
Well, don't you think that unrighteous people have been given over to a reprobate mind, perhaps, and that's what they're referring to?
No, I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe that either. Well, what's unrighteous to you, GS?
Oh, just not what's unrighteous to me. Is what does the Bible say is unrighteous? Be walking away from God, not walking in the Spirit. That no man is righteous in and of their own flesh or themselves. They're only made justified or righteous by God. That's what I believe. I can't be righteous on my own.
See That's kind of messed up. Don't you think that's a little bit mean for someone to tell you that you're not a good enough type of person as you are as a person?
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
Jesus corrected the disciple who said, "You're too good for such a thing to happen to you." And he said, "Why do you call me good? There's only one who's good. That's God."
I know.
And if he's going to be the one that mentors me and he corrects the disciples from calling him good, then how dare I call myself good? Now, decent, I like that word.
Well, no.
I think I've heard that word be said a few times.
Does
That's-
good mean righteous though?
Well,
Is it the same as righteous, being righteous?
but you can only be righteous / good when you're denying your flesh, picking up your cross daily, and following Christ. I can't be righteous in my own works, my own merit. That's not what makes me righteous, according to my understanding of righteous.
Yeah, I'm asking, does righteousness mean the same thing as good when in that verse?
Well, I think righteous means righteous and good means good.
Is being righteous suffering? Is it righteous to suffer?
I think to live is to suffer. And the only way you can be righteous is in living. I guess you can live righteously, or I guess you could die righteously.
But I mean, if you as a person, no matter what you do, are not good enough or righteous enough to deserve your God's love, it seems like you need to suffer yourself in order to be able to be seen as righteous or good. Like you need to.
Are you asking, is it righteous to suffer for God?
Well, sure. I was just saying, is it righteous to suffer? Full stop. But I mean, sure,
Yeah.
we'll go. Is it righteous?
Well, can you name somebody that suffered more than Jesus Christ did? Not only was he not guilty,
Bunch of people.
Yeah.
not only was he not guilty,
Jesus suffered for like
I'm
10
sorry,
minutes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because Jesus was on a cross and died the same day, right? I mean, there's been people who suffer for years and years. So yeah, a lot of people suffered more than Jesus.
The Jews in the concentration camps suffered pretty bad, I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead. What your point was, GS? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I know, I realize I interrupted you. I shouldn't have done that. I mean, a lot of times there's a lot more contention between Christians than there is between Christians and atheists. It's the Christians who disagree on doctrine and stuff like that have the most contention, the most intensity between each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time.
And so me and GS, we have some pretty opposite views on the Bible and stuff, but we're both claiming to be Christians, and so we have a little bit of tension between us. Sorry,
I don't think the tension exists as a result of disagreeing on biblical things. I think it's more so the consistent interactions. I wouldn't necessarily say personality, because we all have different personalities.
Yeah, but some people's personalities clash and some people's don't. And I think Dirty Varmint and GS just clash.
Well, it's based in doctrine, because we disagree on the doctrine, and so we're gonna have at each other's throats, you know. And I think it was Jesus when he said, "I came not to bring peace on earth, but a sword to divide." I think when he said, "Truly I tell you, whenever two or more are gathered in my name, there I will be." And I think he will be there with his sword, dividing us, you know, because he's trying to divide the truth from the lies.
And even simpler than that too is, like, I'm in Australia and I know I have a delay, so I overtalk all the time. So I'm constantly having to apologize because I speak when there's a pause for me, but you know, on the other side of the world, you've already started speaking, and yeah. So we kind of have to be a bit mindful of that for each other too. Doesn't help.
Yeah, mine wasn't so innocent. I was kind of being a jerk. I didn't mean to. You continue your point, GS, if you want, man.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is you seem to know enough about me to know that you and I disagree on a great many things, and I really don't know much about you at all.
Well, I met you once.
You're making an assertion, which means that you want to be contentious with me. So therefore, when a man tells you what he is or who he is or what he's about, I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe
Me,
you.
me
You're
too.
going to come against me. I promise that you will come
Right, and
against
that's
me because
why
I
I'm
believe
here.
that you are going to choose to come against me.
It's true. That's why I'm here. I came here because the title said, challenge me, and so I was like, oh, I want to challenge somebody. I love arguing.
So no, it says challenge me on religion, atheists welcome, right? So if you say you're a brother in Christ, why would you challenge another brother in Christ? Unless it is that you're purposing in your heart to try to stumble another brother on his
Well,
walk with God. And
it's
if that
not.
is
He,
if that
he,
is
he,
actually
and look,
and
well, let's clarify.
if that is actually in your heart, then I
Eh,
rebuke you in the name
Let's
of Jesus.
Okay,
clarify.
okay.
On
Well,
behalf of Richard's channel, his whole point is demolish doctrine, demolish religion, right? Nothing to do with Christ. To challenge religion is not to challenge Christ.
or a person. I'm not trying
Exactly.
to destroy GS or demolish GS. I'm trying to demolish his ignorance, I'm trying to defeat his ignorance, not him personally. I like him personally, but so it's nothing against you, but I am trying. I do want to. I love fighting. You know what I mean?
Sure, but Sammy, what you have to remember is that one of the it's actually other Christians that deconvert other Christians. And a lot of the reason that
Oh
happens
yeah.
is because of behavior and how they treat each other, right? If you are someone who is new on your walk with Christ and you interact with Christians who's for whatever reason, right? Or maybe it's just their proclivities, right? They want to engage in argumentative behavior all the time that is contentious and non edifying, then that will turn you off, right? Their fruits, the fruits that they're bearing, right, as far as you're concerned, is not going to be of the Spirit, right? And so, because you don't see that as being of the Spirit and you associate them with the religion on a whole, now you want to leave the religion,
Yeah. I've
right?
experienced that myself.
Exactly. So, what generally specific just said a while ago, it makes sense. How you do things matter. Has nothing to do with personality. We how many times have you seen me interact with some of the most contentious people, right? And you've never seen me get out of pocket with them before, right?
Yeah, but I
But
also it took people like Aaron Ra to actually break through my walls and things. It takes all kinds, man. We can't all be gentle, quiet, peace loving. Some minds need a louder voice. Mine
I
did.
mean, sure. And I'm not necessarily saying that you have to always, be like me, because I'm certainly not peace and, peaceful and gentle all the time, right? It's just that, like the scripture that I read earlier, right? I don't throw my pearls to swines. Once you start acting like a swine, I stop throwing you pearls. I step away. It's not worth
Yeah.
my time.
And see what I was going to say to that, and I appreciate that. That's your prerogative. To me, that's you making a judgment call. You've now judged that person as a swine and deemed them not worthy of your information. And I won't do that. I will always, I'll feed the swine because one day the
Absolutely.
swine will stop attacking me.
See, that's the thing, right?
You
Once
can
they
domesticate the pig.
the goal is to
That's pretty
the
good.
goal is to let them know they're acting like swines. And if they value
Yeah.
whatever I have to say, regardless of their behavior, they'll stop acting like swines and
Precisely.
during my
And I think
yeah. I don't
that's
mean
where the
permanently.
differences come in, though. You will do it, a gentler, longer way around where I will, for example, just say, you're being a dickhead, mate, or whatever, the example is. We all have our different ways of letting someone know, like, I'm not interested, or leave the conversation, or
I do, Richard, do you mind if
Yes.
I temporarily hijack your stream with a question for the panel and the people in chat?
Anything reasonable and thought provocative is always welcome.
Absolutely. My question is to the people in the chat and the panel, um, how is your belief useful to you in your day-to-day life, physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually? How is it useful to you to hold that belief? If it is. If it's not, then I totally understand as well.
If I may, yeah. Thank you for having me up, D-Doc. You're certainly always a pleasant person. Yeah, I wouldn't mind opining on it a little bit. Ultimately, I just have 4 words that I kind of try to live by, that benefit me. That kind of, if I were to go into the actual scriptures and the other benefits, the 4 words are eat healthy, enjoy life, right? And so the things that I believe ultimately, they all lead to that. The benefits of life for me, when I enjoy my life and I eat healthy, and all of those things that come with life, and the things that would be beneficial spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, intellectually, they all lead to that. So that's the simple answer. But of course, there are the scriptures too that would find you in a better place in all of those aspects. Those 4 words: eat healthy, enjoy life. That's me.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
I could go. I don't think that my beliefs in Jesus are supposed to benefit me, and so I hope that they don't, because I think Jesus said that if you believe in me, you'll be persecuted, and you'll be mocked and ignored and slandered and all these things. And so I don't think that your beliefs should affect your day-to-day life in a good way. I think that's an indicator that you have the wrong beliefs, and that you're betting it all on the afterlife, on heaven or whatever. So that's when it's going to benefit you. You don't want to use up all your rewards now, because then you'll have nothing left on Judgment Day. That's it.
And initial thoughts, Wildheart or Dave?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just to answer the question, this will be quick. Obviously, being an atheist, my beliefs don't really benefit me or have a negative effect, because it's just not believing in God. So,
I've got to push back on that. It depends on what a person means by beliefs. If we actually mean the word belief for what it means,
yeah.
Everyone carries beliefs. Some of them can be harmful. Some of them can be beneficial. For instance, I believe that eating food will extend my life.
Right. I thought it just meant like religious beliefs, whether you believe in God or not. How does that help?
I'm sure that's how it was intended.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're right. But to answer that end of it, for me personally, finding my brother at the hospital with no guidance from anyone around me, and with no sense of direction and with no map, or any number of several occurrence of things like that. I went to that place, to that town, to find my brother. My brother was ill and I had time. I wanted to comfort him. He could use the comforting, since he just got out of a life-saving surgery. So did that benefit him and me, that guidance of prayer to find him? Yeah, it did. I felt good about it. He felt good about it. and we spent some time together. It's great.
That's awesome. How about you, Marty? GS?
I don't really. I don't. I'll answer the question as in terms of my practice of the craft rather than my belief, because I don't really. I think supernatural requires belief, and I don't believe in the supernatural. But my like I said, I pray every morning, and it helps steady me in my day. But the practice of witchcraft that I've been doing for a little over 20 years has helped me tremendously. It's given me a little bit of confidence in myself, because you kind of have to have some confidence in yourself when you're doing your ritual to put out that energy out there. It's made me so you kind of see the world a little bit differently, to like at least be open to like people like Richard, whereas back in the day I'd be like, no, get away from me. But it helps me. I should be meditating more than I actually do, and I don't, because with ADHD that's real hard. And I should be probably be eating better to take care of my body better, and I don't. I just ate half a pack of Twizzlers about 30 minutes ago.
Oh.
Jesus.
I have a massive sweet tooth, so I mean, like I say,
I would have eaten the whole packet. Marty, so don't worry.
I had to stop myself from eating the whole pack, but no, but it's helped me in it's helped me in tremendous ways. It's helped me kind of do for myself more than just rely on not that I don't ask for help, but that I can, that I am capable of doing, going to school, getting a job. I wrote 2 books, that I'm more capable than I ever given myself credit for. And I don't think that without the practice of the craft, I don't think I would have. It actually helped me out of a tremendously painful breakup. Like, I just came out of this tremendously painful breakup, and it was like I just came out of that breakup. I just came out of the closet, and now I'm coming out of the broom closet. It helped me tremendously, and I honestly, I don't see myself giving it up anytime soon. So.
And for me, it's obviously I'll talk about my lack of belief. Since I stopped believing, I have felt less anxiety. I have come to terms with mortality. I have become much more open-minded and less tunnel-visioned. More honest with myself and my sometimes illogical way of thinking, and I try and fix that. So all those sorts of things would dampened, hindered, if not totally squashed when I was a believer. And so now I feel I'm much happier. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
obviously, we and I believe a lot of religion is at least cult-ish, if not strictly definitionally a cult. Okay, and when fear is used to manipulate people, and information is discouraged, and learning is discouraged, and othering, so that you don't get other people's opinions, and you never expand your mind, of course that stifles a person. And I would that everyone get away from those kinds of ideas. We use the expression echo chamber. And what do we mean by that? We mean people that deeply agree with each other and never improve themselves.
Do you mind if I highlight this? Because this is exactly what you're speaking of, Richard. Bye, Vegas, if you feel the need to leave.
I was never a part of the faith in the first place, Vegas, so there you go.
So I'd like to speak on Vegas's comment, unless G. Oh, okay. So I understand Vegas to be a good Christian brother. From what I understand, he's done some good practicing of the faith, which is nice. He does set a very good example, in my opinion. You know, we are all flawed at times, just as any man is, but in my opinion, he does a fine job. I'm certainly not perfect. You know, sitting on panels with non-Christians, you know, talking to non-Christians. You know, I brought up the scripture in the chat, you know, a little while ago, 24:14, that the good news must be preached. Okay, so as a Christian, I do understand this. And then it has been mentioned that you don't cast your pearls before the swine. Well, there's the part about teaching as well, right? So those fine pearls, just my view, are the teachings. Those teachings are the fine pearls, whereas you find yourself still preaching to those who aren't necessarily going to look upon the fine pearl and say, oh, I want that. But the preaching still has to happen, right? So there's a difference there. Pearls are the fine teachings, whereas preaching is something different. Okay. Now, when it comes to, you know, Vegas, and, you know, if he wants to, you know, head out, you know, as Christians, we have options. We can come and go as we please, just as any man. But for me, with my belief system, and, you know, I don't consider myself a Christian. I am just a man. But a lot of people would look at me and say, you are a practicing Christian. So I agree with them, right? I do my best. I do my best. But I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. I am just simply going to do my best to preach and to teach. And if I can't get it across, then so be it. Then I shake the dust and I move on. But, you know, I'll still hang out for a little while, no problem, because I do enjoy speaking with people. It's nice to speak with decent folks, even if we don't agree on every single thing. And we aren't, you know, even within the Christian faith, right? There were 7 churches in the book of Revelation. 7. Kind of a proof there that not everybody agreed on everything exactly. They all needed correction. So I just wanted to bring those kind of points out. But, you know, it was nice to see Vegas Vips in here. He decided he wanted to skedaddle. Good Christian brother, my opinion.
Okay, bye. That's that's how I.
It brings us back to that discussion that GS was brought up. Is for him, he's decided that this is bad association, so he's choosing not to partake.
No, Vegas.
Not you, GS.
okay,
Not you,
yeah.
GS. Yeah.
I haven't quite figured out my mind yet, and I don't want to be closed-minded, but I would like to point out how Marty was being very uncharitable. You know, when I heard Marty give her testimony, what I heard was I probably counted about 25 I's in her like minute and a half soliloquy. It's okay. She has a free will to be very selfish and self-centered if she so chooses.
Huh?
Sorry, it was her testimony.
It's my testimony.
Zing.
And he
Right. Yeah, no. So
Please let each other finish.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you in my moment. Okay. I apologize. So go ahead.
Go on, GS.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. This is twice now.
GS, please finish the thought.
Finish your thought, because I'm going to shut it down in a minute anyhow. So go ahead and finish your thought.
And sorry, that was my fault. Sorry about that.
You're fine, Wildheart.
Well, you didn't help. That's true.
Well, the question was, how does your belief, make your life better and stuff? And so, of course, she's going to say, I. So what was your point? That I mean, the question wasn't like, what's wrong with Marty?
So he's obviously declining for now. That's fine. We can just move on.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Dirty.
I guess I kind of want to recant. I said that, it's not going to make any positive changes in my life, but I recant. I mean, it probably will give me some confidence and stuff like that. So just to clarify.
I want to welcome Dr. Tapioca Weasel. You
Hi.
added something to your name. I'm not saying all that stuff. How you doing, brother? It's been a while. First thoughts. Or just sit there silently. You can do that too. Okay. You're muted somewhere not on StreamYard. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, good.
All right, sorry. I thought it was using the one mic and it was using the other. Yeah, it's been a while. Good to see you.
Initial thoughts?
Well, yeah, so the question was, how are your beliefs useful or helpful?
I would answer that directly to you because it was your question in the chat, and I thought an interesting one.
I was rephrasing the one. I was rephrasing what somebody on stream said.
That's basically the question.
Yeah, as you said it earlier, I typed it out more as close as I could word for word. And I would say so my response was do you mean religious beliefs? Because I am an atheist.
So your theological beliefs. So
okay,
it doesn't
yeah,
really matter what it is.
I would say that they don't come up much. Mostly because I haven't seen it. It doesn't come up much in life. I've noticed. I'm sure that has a large to do with how I live my life and the fact that religion is not a big part of my life. It used to be a much bigger part when I was younger. I grew up in a religious household and all that, but in my day-to-day life, I simply don't find theological questions to be.
What about philosophical questions overall?
Oh, those can be enormously important. How do you know things, for example? What is the nature of existence? What does it mean to be ethical? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to love and interact with people?
And of course, what is beauty? But
yeah, exactly? That's a very underappreciated one also by people in.
Yes.
I'm a scientist, and I think a lot of scientists have a very different appreciation for the concept of beauty, I think, than other people. It's more along a mathematical line, and
it's more about elegance than visuals.
Yes, but I think most scientists or mathematicians or whoever who would definitely harp on that a lot underestimate how ingrained the concept of visual aesthetics or aesthetics in other senses actually is. I find it fascinating, for example, that flowers did not evolve on any level to be attractive to humans. Okay? And yet they're extremely attractive to humans, and probably for reasons that are not that dissimilar from why they're attractive to bees. Because they do have to be and did evolve to be attractive to bees.
So I'm going to drag you back on back on topic, because you brilliant sporadic people tend to do this to us, and get on all these tangents. Okay, so you believe that you love someone, and someone believes that they love you, and you believe they love you, and those are strictly beliefs. They literally can't be proven, because a person could be just deceiving you, and just never quit deceiving you, and you couldn't know the difference. if they're good at it. So wouldn't you say in that, aside from any religious beliefs, that indeed our beliefs dictate our actions?
Yeah, I absolutely think our beliefs dictate the majority of our action. Oh, they dictate all of the ones that we do voluntarily.
Choice, voluntary actions. Fair enough.
Whether I personally am unconvinced that we have free will. I don't see any mechanism for it. I'm less convinced that it's impossible than other people, because I think there are enough sort of areas where you could maybe jam it in some weird way. But I find the concept sort of difficult to justify.
Should we segue into that? Do we got free will?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great topic, I think. And I would go first just to spurn others and give others a chance to, to concretize the thoughts they're having right now. That I believe what is actually going on, how I experience it, is that I'm faced with some conundrum, something I need to act upon, something I haven't done before and found something that works. Because if I find something that works, I'm going to keep using it until it fails, right? So I'm going to, certain things are going to pop into my mind, a variety of possible actions. And then I'm going to judge each of those things that pop into my mind based on a very certain and specific criteria, that being, do I find it morally agreeable? Do I find it plausible in reality as I know it? Like, would that physically work? Have I had success with like things in like situations? So if I can even do an association of success, then those things are going to color which one I choose. And then I'm going to choose that one, whatever it is, whatever's left through that elimination process, and I'm going to try it, even if it kills me and it's stupid as hell. I'm still going to try it, because how would I know the difference?
I am probably not going to participate much in this conversation, mainly because I don't think it's worth having the conversation, because either position that you take, its conclusion is just going to be post hoc anyways. So I don't think
it's not the destination, man. It's the journey.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still want to know if GS's beliefs improve his life on a day-to-day basis.
Actually, I didn't even answer that question. But if we're gonna go into
GS
the free
didn't
will
either.
stuff,
But yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'll engage. I don't find it interesting.
GS, tell us.
Oh, he's got food. That
He's got
figures.
food. Damn, bro, you gotta share. Damn it.
You bringing that for everybody? Huh?
I don't blame him.
I did not. So if I,
and attack me like I'm going to defend myself, man. I don't know what to tell you.
well, see, so the fact that you perceive that as an attack is kind of interesting, because again, you're getting ready to interrupt me before I can even finish one sentence.
Right,
so the fact that you perceived what I was saying as an attack says more about you than it says about me. So I will finish, because there was a point in time where I put myself before the Lord. And it wasn't until I realized that, here's the scripture, I had it all prepared, right? For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. And when I stopped thinking about I and started thinking about him, I got a supernatural peace that surpassed all my ability to understand. I no longer feared death. I no longer feared insufficiency. I no longer feared lack, which is the same as insufficiency, I imagine. These things actually put my life into a balance and a perspective that I never had, the peace that I never had until about 4 years ago. And I'm 54, so I'm getting ready to go on 55 soon. I didn't have this kind of peace, because I was thinking about myself and putting myself or my family before the Lord. Now, for me, it brought me a great amount of peace. So that was my point. That was what I was trying to convey. It was not an attack on you. It was actually a measuring of myself prior to putting myself behind Christ.
And can I point out that was eerily similar to my experience.
I noticed
But
that.
opposite.
But
That's
opposite.
exactly. That's what I thought when I heard you saying it. Thank you for refreshing my memory on that.
But that's a weird phenomenon that you guys can both find this clarity. One of you is when you accepted the Bible, and one of you is when you rejected it or whatever.
To be fair, our brother Sammy Jenkins, I'm very happy he got out of it. Jehovah's Witness is one of the most serious restrictive cults on the planet.
Ooh, is that the one you left, Sammy? That's why he said bad association spoils for useful habits.
It's one of their catchphrases.
So this will be interesting because Sammy, I am also a disfellowshipped brother.
Oh, well.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Not raised in, later studied. And yes, I was disfellowshipped. I do actually believe a lot of what they teach. And so for me, there are some things that I don't necessarily ascribe
Agree
to.
with. Yeah.
Which, there's some problems, right? But in my opinion, their teachings are very valuable and very accurate. Now, the problems that they have don't allow them to go further, in my opinion, with the scriptures. That's where I think that they are, or I should say, I believe that they have the problem, is because they're only allowed, to accept that strict teaching. Now, for me, I went beyond, and there are some things that I know now that, for me, just what I believe, have been revealed to me. Now, I've gone further with the scriptures. I did not stop. And yes, I was baptized, and then I was disfellowshipped for something. And then once I was disfellowshipped, I went further with the scriptures. I did not stop. See,
So
I was studying
you ran
this.
ahead of Jehovah's chariot.
No.
No, that's what
that sounds like a
No. I'm being facetious. According to them,
yes. Unfortunately,
you ran ahead of Jehovah's chariot because you didn't.
According to the men,
exactly,
but not the word.
And Sammy, speaking of Watchtower, would you please put your channel, Watchtower Watcher, in the chat for everyone so they can check you out? Because there might be someone who needs help out of that same thought, that same oppression, that same false religion.
Yeah, that's a tough one to leave, man. They make it so hard to leave.
Yes.
And because I hear myself in Brick, I used to say the same things. I used to say, I don't believe anymore, but if there was going to be one that got it right, it's them.
Yes,
because they answer things in the Bible that other Christianity either has to ignore or dance around. They address those things. And so when you're in, it feels like, oh, these guys have got it. Because that answer that the pastor couldn't give me, the Baptist couldn't give me, these guys have actually had the balls to answer it, sort of thing.
I'd like to hear these answers.
So you feel like there's a lot of value there. But then you quickly, in my case, learn that
so
it's not as valuable as you think.
Some of the valuable answers that you're speaking of, one of them, and this is obviously the main teaching that they're going to present to you, is that God has a name. Now, his name has meaning. And when you talk about names, words, if words have meanings, then names have meanings. Of course, they have their definition, which is accurate according to what the name means. He causes to become. But if you study out that name, as with the Hebrews, as with the nation of Israel, the way they understood it, it's even further. Again, going back to that, I went further with it. I understand what it means. For me, it's even more. He is the breath of life. He is the creator, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yehovah. All of the different ways to say it. When you breathe in, Yah, and then way, right? Way. It literally
What?
is the breath of life. That is what the tetragrammaton means. It means he causes to become. That is why it sounds that way. Go ahead.
Interesting. I completely disagree that you can interpret the tetragrammaton that way.
Aaron Ra makes that claim
No one sees that.
that
no
it's the
one saw that
breath.
coming.
Yahweh. Inhale and exhale.
Well, it's because so understand. So it's because there are different ways to say the name. Like, for instance, Jehovah, right? Yahweh, Yahweh. And the different pronunciations are in tune with the sound of the breath of life, which also is in tune with he causes to become.
That's just too much for me.
Yeah,
Okay,
these
so
JWs, they really lure you in with that name. Yeah.
okay, so actually, the word Jehovah is not a Hebrew word at all. It's a misunderstanding from an ancient scribe, and it's a word that referred to the holiness of God without saying God's name, and the vowels from that interjected into the tetragrammaton to make the word Jehovah. Okay, so actually, that's a misunderstanding.
Right. And so, if I may, so the English translation, so the Latin letters applied to that old language.
Okay. Well, the Yod Hey Vav Hey are, and you might notice that two of them repeat Hey. The Yod Hey Vav Hey are they're letters that were symbols. So it's something like Japanese style writing. The letters themselves mean things. So it's not like the letter A. Well, what's it mean? A. Well, what's that? Well, it's either one or it's part of a bigger word, cat. Okay, fine. It doesn't have its own intrinsic meaning. The Hebrew letters do. So the Yod Hey Vav Hey. The Yod is the it's this. It's drawn like this, like the hand, right? Because it's supposed to represent the arm and the hand, an open palm. Well, why do you open your palm? You're opening your palm to offer someone a gift or to help them up. That's why your palm would be facing up. You're giving them help. That's the total idea. The hay looks something like that. If you'll forgive my fist on my left hand there. And it's a house. It's a flat roof with two walls. It's a house. That's what it literally is supposed to be. And that represents the house that you live in, the country you live in, the planet you live on. So it's like the idea of habitation, okay? And the Vav is a tent peg, which is why it looks like this. It got turned into just the thumb, but it's a tent peg. Well, what's a tent peg do? A tent peg anchors one thing to another. It's the idea of anchoring or tying something down, right? And then you have a repeat of the hay. So the sentence there is hand making an offer, house tied to house. That's the literal sentence.
My only pushback would be that they didn't write the vowels in, and we're not sure which vowels actually belong in between. But that would change the sentence.
No,
depending on what the vowels were used.
Only if they're not initials. If it's supposed to be a word, you're right. But if it's not supposed to be a word, that's not right.
So, if I may, what you just described to me it sounds to me like the creator, right? So the one
Well,
who creates the house because he is the creator of the
it is
so
referring to the creator, but it's referring to two houses. You'll notice house repeats. And this is how I
Right.
personally read it, which is not necessarily perfect, but I would put forth for others' consideration. It's the hand offering grace with which heaven is tied to the earth.
Right. So for creation, and this is just my view of creation, all of creation is that which screams out, there he is. It's all in a testament to life. So all of
Yes, that's
creation
part of it.
is life. That's the way I see it. And he,
No,
the
that's
creator,
a part of it.
tied directly to it.
Right. No, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. But the very word or the very letters Yod He Vav He reckon back to the 6 days of creation. That hand, in order to make that offer, necessarily tying the heavens to the earth, is referring directly back to the book of Genesis.
Right. And so the interpretation that they have in the witnesses isn't wrong. It's just there's more to it.
What do they say? Or did you already say it and I'm unaware?
That's okay. Yeah, it's he causes to become, which of course later on I, kind of stumbled upon the breath of life, which also is a reference to the creator. It's all a reference to him being tied directly to his creation because he is the creator. But
you know why they translate it that way, don't you? It's because Jesus said I am, and a lot of Trinitarians will say, see, he's saying he's the I am. And so they just said, well, he didn't say I am that I am. He said I caused to become.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it is more accurate. It is more accurate.
Yeah, so and that does fall directly to the reason why the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses was originally founded, because in my opinion, and I kind of studied their little bit of history, is they saw the flaws of the Trinitarian doctrine and wanted to seek out the answers. Now, along the way, they've kind of formulated some flawed opinions and taught their followers that the men are in charge, and so you can only accept their quote unquote doctrine, and that is unfortunate.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but before we get too far afield from the house to the house, so I've said this before, D-Doc, and this could be what Brick's talking about too, and even Sean, or I don't. So the waters above are separated from the waters below.
Yes.
And as you talked about the waters, the lineage above is separated from the lineage below, house to house.
Yeah.
So that house up there begot this house down here, but there's a separation. I think
that's the claim. That's why in Genesis it reads that the firmament above is filled throughout. They're inside. The firmament below is covered on top of. We're on the outside of the firmament.
So how do you think that we can convince these atheist pigs to become Christians?
Actually, through gentleness, good argumentation, a lot of patience, and showing them the value of it. For instance, none of you got to know me before when you would have hated me. But most people did.
Richard, and most atheists I know, is the closest any theist has come to convincing me of anything.
What now? Say that again.
Richard's the closest any theist has come. Richard has presented me with something I can't falsify. Not falsify, I can't
refute.
Yeah, you can't falsify it.
I can't refute.
Listen, and here's the reason why.
It is falsifiable. Go ahead, sir.
I know why, and that's why I'm not saying I have ascribed to it.
I
But I'm
think the
saying
reason why, Sammy, is because he's not trying to sell you something.
I agree with that. Yes, exactly right.
I don't know. I would probably disagree because I think we are all trying to sell something, even me.
In fact, I don't think I'd be going very far out on a limb to say that David and Marty would say the same thing of me.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was to I don't want to call it Christianity, because Christianity is doctrine.
Convert. If you were going to convert to something.
Yeah, if I was going to convert or maybe follow or practice, probably practice is a better word. If I was to practice, I would swing in the direction of Richard's teachings, because they actually make a lot more sense. And
exactly, and I want to refute that. It's not because he's not pushing it. He may not be, and you're probably right. It's because I've actually tried to refute it. And he understands logic and syllogisms, so that makes a huge difference. His arguments are logical, and that's really important to me.
Sammy,
it
would you
doesn't mean
agree?
I agree with the premises, but I can't argue that his premises lead to his conclusions.
Would you all agree that the truth has a ring to it, that you know it when you hear it? If you're not trying to deceive yourself, if you actually are listening, the truth has a ring to it, and I think that's what's appealing to you.
I don't agree with that
I think
at all,
so.
personally.
I think it can, but I think that we can often mistake it as well. So it's like a double-edged sword.
So,
Dr. Tapioca, let
me
me present an idea to you and see if you can argue with it. If this Earth can happen, then another Earth-like planet could happen. And if another Earth-like planet could happen, you could have an evolutionary process there. Now, if that happened significantly longer ago in time than this one, say, I don't know, 10,000 years earlier, or even just 1,000 years earlier than this one started the same process. And all things being equal, we should be able to say that the evolutionary process that resulted in the animal that you are would happen at about the same rate, given about the same planet size, amount of water, gases, etc. Right? So then, if that resulted in an intelligence that was even 1,000 years more advanced than we are right now, it wouldn't be unreasonable to say that there could be an intelligence out there 1,000 years more advanced than we are right now. And what would that mean? That would probably mean they could get here where we can't get away from here.
Right?
Right?
I'm with you up until there.
Up until
that last statement. That assumes facts, not an evidence.
But aren't we working toward that exact goal to get to the next nearest star?
Yeah, and I certainly, the next nearest star, they aren't around the next nearest star.
They what?
If they were the hypothetical species, I suppose that you're
okay.
But yes, everything that you said up until then, I would agree with. It's possible that you really can't get around the speed of light. I personally don't think so. I personally think that you're probably right, and that there probably is something to figure out there that would let you get around it. So, taking that on board and going with that, then yeah, so far I would agree with everything.
I'm just talking about plausibility. Plausibility. I mean, there's theories for folding space and stuff like that. I can't show they're true.
Yeah. I also, it's like not even just folding space. I also just think that it's hubristic to think that that we can definitively rule that out.
Right. Okay, so give me just a little bit of leeway on that one point, and let's say that an Earth-like planet happened 100,000 years before this one did.
Yeah.
Then I could say that they would probably have the technology to get here if they so desired, right?
Can I engage? Go ahead, Doctor. No, go ahead.
If an Earth-like planet happening, if I agree with you up to the point that they have reached our current level of intelligence 1,000 years ago, then I still agree with you. I do not think that that is a reasonable conclusion at all to draw from the stipulation that a planet with a very similar evolutionary history happened up until, say, something. Even if you go 95% of the way, 95% of the way, the planet's been around for 4.5 billion years. I personally think probably evolution started within the first 500 million years. And then you get the Cambrian explosion happening 500 million years ago, 400 million years ago.
Ish.
So if you go 95% of the way, that brings us up to.
Oh, your problem
20,
is the
20
Big
million
Bang.
years ago.
Your problem
No.
is the Big Bang, yeah?
No. My problem here is that if you clone the Earth 20 million years ago,
Yeah.
which would be after, I think, if I did the mental math correctly, that would be after roughly 99% of its evolutionary history, over a 4.5 billion year time scale, because that's how long the planet's been around. If you clone the Earth 20 million years ago and you let everything go again, I'm not remotely convinced you get humans again.
Oh, okay. No, that's absolutely fine. That's not my essential eventual claim.
But so my point is, my underlying point is that I think that the probability of your essential fundamental claim, which is a comparison between two species that one of which is 1,000 years older than the other, I think that the probability of that premise is very, very low. That's sort of the point that I'm
of that happening.
Making. Yeah.
Well, yes, it's extremely low in, say, our solar system, or even I'd say for the next nearest 100 stars. The probability is very low, but when we have 72, I can't remember the number, I'm bad at that, Goldilocks planets found around nearer stars, and we extrapolate that out, we get 65 billion Goldilocks planets in the knowable universe, and of course that's not the universe.
Well, go on, sorry.
I really want to engage this, but I think I want us to think about. So we're thinking about speculatory things that, like, no one was here 20 million years ago.
Actually, I'm talking about what the Bible claims.
Right, but that's what I want to engage. So if we look at the Earth, and we're talking about a replication of the Earth, if there was a parallel Earth out there that was 1,000 years older than where we are right now. I would posit this, that time is both crucial and irrelevant at the same time, paradoxically. And here's my proof. The technology that they had in the ancient Egyptians, the Library of Alexandria, the things that were either collected and hidden away from us, tomes of antiquity and knowledge of antiquity that's either been sheltered, destroyed, or lost, I think we were far superior in our intellect eons ago. Like 5,000 years ago, I think we had more intelligence than we have right now, more technology. That doesn't mean in 1,000 years we can't eclipse what we knew in the past and then gain on that. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is time is both irrelevant and crucial at the same time, paradoxically, meaning we had an enlightenment, we had a dark ages, right? I mean, so within that short period of time of what we have as recorded Earth, not speculation of the Big Bang or 200 million years ago or 20 million years ago or even 1 million years ago. So whether it's 1,000 years or 1 year, I don't know that I don't know that time is relevant or irrelevant. I think it's, like I said, crucial and not needed all at the same time. Meaning, Okay, I'm spinning off on this. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Can you, as a
I agree with what
scientist,
you're
can you engage? Can you engage that?
I would ask as sort of as a reference point. How old do you believe the Earth is, or the universe, or
6,000
What
years?
I'm
would
the
you
one to,
Couldn't
I'm the
tell
one
you.
to ask
Couldn't
that.
couldn't even tell you.
well
are you?
would you argue against something like 5 billion years?
I would be the one to ask that. I'm
That's fair. There are 9 people on the screen, and so it's hard to have the conversation with everybody at once. So I want to ask GS, do you have a position, or do you not have a position? Okay, so you don't have a position specifically on the age of the Earth, for example. Time is irrelevant and relevant. I would agree with that to the extent that I find it informative. I find it a little bit difficult to apply that heuristic, I suppose, in a way that I do think is informative. You gave an example that I did want to engage with. I can't remember what it was.
Well, while you're
Like the
remembering that,
technology in Egypt. Go ahead. I'm gonna listen.
Yeah. I don't.
I
Yeah,
want to
you made the
quickly point out my favorite one. If a time machine is ever going to be invented, it already exists.
Yeah, no, that's actually a fair point. Potentially, it requires a model of how time travel could potentially work. Which
I would travel back in time. I made some mistakes.
Just you, though, nobody else.
I do not believe that there is any compelling evidence that there was a uniformly greater intelligence of humanity many thousands of years ago. I don't think that there is, on the whole, a great amount of lost knowledge. There's a ton of specific lost knowledge. There are people who had insights that were written down and remembered for hundreds of years, and then they died out. That happened. It absolutely happened. But we have a lot of specific examples of this. The one that leaps to mind is, and maybe I'm wrong about this, the samurai or something 1,000 years ago had a method of making folding steel that was lost, and we're able to do things that are better than that now.
It's
but
Damascus
we
steel.
don't know exactly the method that they used. That was lost. The precise method was lost. And so there are definitely things that were lost. I simply don't think there's any evidence, though, that they knew more about how the world works than we do now, or than we did 100 years ago. You brought up the Dark Ages and the Enlightenment. We haven't had a Dark Ages since the Enlightenment started.
I want to take this brief pause to thank you all for being what you can't correct my opinions, for being brilliant and considerate of each other. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Nerds.
Thank you, sir.
So, Doctor, I do have a few questions that's been swirling around in my mind. So I generally agree with a lot of the consensus in terms of the age of the universe, the age of the Earth, how long, when life started, when the evolutionary process started, stuff like that, right? So I largely agree with that stuff, at least in relation to the Earth. So how long has modern humans been around roughly?
So anatomically, modern Homo sapiens. I don't know. YouTubers that I would recommend that would give a much better answer. The top would be Gutsick Gibbon. She would know that forwards and backwards because that's what she does. I'm sure Dapper Dino would know it. Roughly, I think it's on the order of 100,000 years. I think Homo sapiens have been around for
200,000.
at least 250,000 years.
Holy
But I think
smoke.
anatomically modern Homo sapiens have been around for, I think it's around 100,000 years.
Okay,
Dang.
so in a hundred now, approximately, and if you don't remember, it's fine. Approximately at how many thousand years ago did we discover fire? And can you explain to us
I
why that
don't know.
discovery was
I can answer, but I'm going to be Googling it and like figuring out, asking Wikipedia. So I'm just to be totally forward about that.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm asking these questions to kind of lead up to a point, just to kind of reinforce something that Richard brought up, right? So our current brains, right? Part of the reason why it's developed the way it's developed is because we found a way to consume food, right, and extract nutrients at a faster and more efficient rate, right?
Yeah, and so I Googled it, and so that happened roughly 1 million years ago.
Okay.
And I want to elaborate, by the way, on a previous answer. I did specify the question was about humans, modern humans, and that's why I was specifying about Homo sapiens. I would apply the word human more generally to anything in the genus Homo.
Okay. So I guess it would be Homo sapien sapien, right?
That's apparently an outdated term that was like used for it would be Homo sapiens as opposed to Homo neanderthalis or Homo habilis or Homo erectus.
Yes,
That's what it would be.
Yeah.
But all of those were human.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So with the compared to the age of the planet, right? Within the really short amount of time that we've been on the planet, I'm assuming, for example, you hold to the position that we've sent men to the Mars and we've sent out satellites into interstellar space by now, right? And
I don't think that we've sent men to Mars. No.
No, the moon.
The moon, yes. The moon, yes. We have stars that are beyond the helioshock satellites, sorry, that are beyond the helioshock of the sun, and in that sense they are in international space, but there's only like 2 of them. So
okay, so would you also agree that, let's say, if humans, us, have been wiped out, do you think that it's possible, if the environment kind of maintained its current stable state, that another set of intelligent species like ourselves could develop and replace us?
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so if it's if it's a situation where there are essentially billions of Earth-like planets, right? Some that exist before us, before ours, probably, right? And assuming that they have life, right? I think it's probably also safe to assume that they would probably develop um, intelligent life. Maybe not human as we know it, right?
Yeah, well, certainly. I
Yeah.
would that would beg for an explanation beyond
Yeah.
the typical.
Yeah, but it definitely seems that the mechanism of evolution tends to generate certain types of body plans, right? Would you agree?
On a very vague level, yes. I would agree that it selects for symmetry, and I would that would kind of be the extent to which I would agree on it with regard to body plans. And when it comes to symmetry, there are only a few different classes that are going to be viable, right? You're going to have, like, the basic ones would be radial, and then bilateral or, non-symmetric at all, which
Okay.
yeah.
So to kind of cut short, right? I think it's perfectly rational to at least come to a speculative conclusion, right, or a somewhat informed conclusion that other entities that are of greater intelligence could exist on other planets, right? And I think the part of the problem is that the way how we kind of define life and see life. I mean, the only example of life that we have is here, right? So it's fair that we come to those conclusions. But I think it's also pretty, I don't know, arrogant to think that more advanced life can't exist, right? I'm sure you know about the Fermi paradox and stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I'm totally with you. I completely agree with you, and that is not. I don't think that's. I don't. The idea that that's impossible is not one I really take seriously.
Okay.
I think it's. I think most like scientists that I know that I've talked with about this also just think it's kind of just statistically obvious that this has happened before.
So if I could, because I mean, ultimately, I hear a lot of basic arguments that quite literally atheists make, and from what I understand, I am Batman. You mentioned that you do believe in God. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then Dr. Taplock or Taplaka.
Tapioca Weasel.
Tapioca.
Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
You can also call me Vandy. My name is Vandy. I mean,
Vandy.
I'm not hiding.
I never look at the back side of it. Yeah, I got you. So obviously you're looking at things from an atheistic point of view, and then Batman, you're looking at things from a believer's point of view, and so when it comes to the atheist arguments, these are some very basic arguments for an atheist mind, in my opinion, right? And this is what I've experienced in the past. That with the different debates and anybody who I've talked to personally who's not a believer, these are fine arguments that atheists make to what we would call in Christianity those on the fence. So, and no offense to you, well, got moved around a little bit.
You're good.
Batman. Sorry, Batman. No offense to you, Batman, but those beliefs, in just my opinion, of evolution, the Big Bang, those are not creation stories. Those are beliefs that atheists hold. Some agnostics also hold it, in my opinion, but those are not Christian beliefs. Those are not Islamic beliefs. Those are not Buddhist beliefs. The vast majority of religions do not believe in Big Bang and evolution and all of that. I want to point that out. And also, of course, the scriptures do not agree with it. Just wanted to point that out.
Hold your thoughts, everybody. Hold your thoughts, everybody. Wesley, if you could find a set of headphones, we are getting echo through you. Could you please find some earbuds or something so we can unmute your mic, please, sir?
Can I
Wesley Curry?
Can I ask a question? Because I'm a little confused here, and I know God's not the author of confusion. But the statement of the channel says, "Challenge me on religion, atheist welcome." Precisely, what is your stance on religion, so therefore it can be challenged? Because right now it just seems like we're showcasing secularism and everything but Christianity or religion. So, I mean, I'm just kind of curious as to what is your position as the host? Are we to challenge you, or are we to challenge each other? Are we?
It was a conversation starter more than anything. But my position on religion, I stated at the very, very beginning, which is this: when we see only likeness and no differentiation, and we see multiple attestations of this same idea set across people and across time, even those separated by geography, then that is evidence of a singular authorship. Now, of course, we have problems associating to other societies that we're unfamiliar with, and we have a big problem misunderstanding these other thought processes. Like, what does Wiccanism really mean? Well, that's a question worth asking. What are the Aboriginal Australians trying to say if I dismiss my cultural prejudices? Things like that. So that's my overarching assertion, is that there's one God for us to worship, that God makes certain demands, that angels carried out those demands, and the result was this earth and all the religions.
So it's interesting because I wish that more Christians believed as heartily as atheists believe. I've never seen people on the face of this planet that believe in something so much, with so much faith that what they think is true. But the interesting thing for me is that it's an oxymoron. That it's, and I would like, well, I believe it's an oxymoron, but I'll posit this. As an atheist, your entire worldview ceases to exist if God doesn't necessarily exist. Prove me wrong.
I just want to clarify, and I don't want to lump you in with or do the typical all Christians do this, but you just did a very common thing that I see Christians do. You just addressed the panel, or I assume Richard, but either way, as atheists. And on this entire panel, there is only 2 proclaimed atheists and an agnostic. So who are you addressing?
I'm addressing the atheists. You just said it.
Well, none of the which were speaking. Okay, well, fair enough. I just didn't know.
And
Well,
I
topic
don't know what,
change then.
Yeah, there was a
Sorry.
topic change.
Yeah, I just don't know what you mean when you say atheists believe something so much. The point of atheism is that we don't believe necessarily anything.
Well, let me present what could be a dichotomy
You're
and actually
adamant
isn't.
about it.
Let me present something that we could, let's just pretend it's a true dichotomy. It's one or the other. Either evolution is true or creation is true. If I presented a creationist argument to someone who's relatively familiar with the workings of, say, a neosynthetic Darwinistic kind of evolution, they would have all these reasons why they think it's true. But those are actually beliefs, unless that person went into a lab and showed them to be true, which most people do not even have opportunity to try. And I'm not speaking against standing on the shoulders of giants. We have to. But it is a belief.
If I may, too, and for Wildheart, I'd like to present a small exercise for you because, from what I understand, you are probably the most diehard atheist and outspoken on the panel. It is actually a very diverse panel here. I'm kind of noticing that lots of different belief systems. Wonderful, wonderful thing.
Hey, Rick, I'm
yes, sir.
sorry, just real quick.
Go ahead.
I don't know where we're gonna get the opportunity to speak about this. But
real quick.
The things that you had said to me earlier in terms of what Christians believe and and what they shouldn't, and what's in the Bible from what's not in the Bible. That's something that I actually really would like to address with you. Even if it means after the stream, I'm perfectly fine talking about it,
Yeah.
and just like letting the conversation move forward.
Right.
But yeah, that's something that warrants a lot of clarification, because I do understand where that mindset that you possess comes from, and I think
Sure.
it's something that's worth addressing in a meaningful way.
I'm sure we could get to it.
Because
We'll get to it. I'm
it's not
sure.
very useful, to be frank. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So for Wildheart, just a simple exercise in regards to beliefs, right? So, do you believe there are snakes under your bed?
No.
Okay, so do you believe there are no snakes under your bed?
Yes.
Okay, so beliefs for you are real.
Yeah.
Okay, simple enough.
But I don't understand where the evolution part comes in. All that atheism is not believing that a God exists.
Right. So you go out from right. No, I understand. And so for the larger argument, because a lot of atheists say that I don't believe in God, therefore I have no beliefs. But you believe that there is no God. That's a belief.
No. You've gone one step too far.
No.
Unless they make the claim, I believe there is no God, then atheism is just saying, I don't believe in our God, not I believe there's no God.
All right, let's try a better exercise.
And I know some people go, well, what's the difference? There is philosophically a huge difference. One is active. One says, I know there is no God.
Let's try.
I believe there's no God. Whereas the other one just says, show me it and I'll believe it.
Okay, Sammy. Do you believe that there are humans on the other side of the world?
Sorry, I missed one word.
He's on the other side of the world.
Right.
He's in Australia, literally, yeah.
Well, so yeah, we're talking from different sides of the world, right? So there's evidence for it. Your belief actually is based upon evidence. That is actually what most Christians do base their faith on. Most Christians do not base their faith
I agree
blindly.
with that.
Yep. So there is a belief system there.
I don't think Christians have no evidence or are just all blindly, have faith. I used to be one. I know what it's like to have evidence.
Right. Faith.
But but that's exactly the point. Is up to this point, none of that evidence suffices for me,
and that's fair.
And I
understand.
So can I put a definition in there of what atheist is? Can we agree or disagree on what the definition of words are? I don't know if you can present that or not, Richard.
Yeah, let's look at that closely, because it is, and please everyone don't jump on it. Let me jump on it first, okay? Because I think this is a decent, good enough definition. A person who disbelieves in the existence of God, singular, or gods. Okay, so this to me says if you can logically disprove the possibility of the existence of some certain God, you are atheistic to that God. The problem becomes when we start saying an atheist denies all possibilities of all gods, which is not necessary. That would be a possible claim, and that would be very difficult to show.
How can you be atheistic to something that doesn't exist? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, it's not denial of the idea. It's not denial of the idea. It's denial that it exists in reality.
Right, but you posited at the very beginning of this episode that God is evident. Now, what you call it might be something different. depending on where you're from, what village you're in, or your elevation or de-elevation, as it were. These were assertions and assessments that you presented. That it's obvious. It's to look at the world. It's obvious that there's a creator, right?
I was not the one who said that.
That's what you posited, though, right?
No, that was someone else that said that actually at the beginning of the show. It was at the beginning of the show.
Well, okay.
Is that your view, though, Richard?
I thought you just reiterated it just like a second ago, that all nations all across the world can recognize that there is a God, but they might not call it God.
That they have a religion that pronounces such things. Not that all of them believe it.
That's a distinction without a difference, though, Richard, with respect.
No, the story was given to them, but that doesn't mean that
the story of what?
Population or
the
story of our why are we here, where are we going, what is our purpose being here, things like that.
Right? No. So now you're skirting it on me, because you said that we've been given a religion, but you said we've been given a religion. Yes. Yeah. Now, what is all right? Now let's look up the definition of religion. I mean, now we're getting really into semantics, which is fine, because debate's about semantics. But I think you're moving the goalpost quite a bit here. Your worldview is your worldview.
For those of us, though, who have known Richard for several years and know what he holds to very, I would say, intimately.
Right. So
you're misrepresenting what he believes.
Here's somebody new that's not attacking him. Here's somebody new that's trying to maybe see if he's got a blind spot.
Let's give it a chance. I'd like to see a blind spot.
Yeah, I think he's a grown man. He's been able to equip himself quite readily to defend his own personal views. He doesn't need an atheist to help him.
He doesn't. That's not the point. The point is we've done this radio.
We're not going to start attacking
is what
each
I'm
other.
saying.
We're just not going to start doing that. Go on with your argument, though.
It just says challenge me on religion.
Yes, challenge.
Atheist, welcome.
Good.
So
please
challenge and atheist are both in the title. Challenge and atheist are both in. Dude, if you're going to continue to be like that, dude, then you've already been defeated.
You guys are just talking over each other. Just give each other a little bit of grace, a little bit of forgiveness. None of us are perfect. It's fine. Let's just go on with it.
What was the question again?
What is religion entailing? What's the entailment of a religion that you said it's obvious and evident to all peoples that they've been given a religion, but what we call it might be different than what they call it? Is that what am I steelmanning your argument? Okay. So what is religion in this? In your words, what is the definition of religion, if we could bring that up?
Okay, I'd like to differentiate between a religious practitioner and the religion itself, because I'm not really worried about the practitioners. I just want to differentiate. I'm not really worried about what practitioners might do or don't do, okay? But I think the idea of the religions is to tell us where we come from, why we're here, and where we're going. That is, that we're the literal descendants of the heavenlies, those in space, that we're stuck here until they return. That is, they return before we bring ourselves off the planet. And they offer us to join into their same society of the same animal that we are.
So I didn't ask what your definition of religion was. I asked what the same place that I got the atheist definition from is where I got the definition of the word religion. Not religious practitioner, not this religion or that religion, just religion. What's the definition? Sure. And I posted it.
Okay. I see it.
What's it say?
It's a noun, the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. See, I don't agree with this definition.
Oh, okay.
Well, in all fairness, I don't either, GS.
So I don't agree with it either.
I mean, what's a superhuman power?
Well, so
it could be pretty much anything you attribute to being superhuman.
Right. So it's a belief structure ultimately, but if you break the word down, it's a realistic genesis, right? If you literally break the word religion down, it's the ideas that you might have, a realistic to you genesis of the beginning of
Right.
whatever
So
you want to claim.
secondarily, it says a particular system of faith and worship, or a pursuit or interest in which
Now that's a
someone
better
describes
definition.
supreme importance. Well, I mean, you're going to the second and the third. You're going to the secondary and tertiary examples of what religion is, not the common
sir.
usage necessarily. So,
Well,
I mean,
no one has to agree with any definition,
Of
right?
which
They have their
No,
own.
I-
random dictionary you've
That's-
chosen. Exactly.
it's Oxford, okay? So
Yes,
what is it? Does it matter what Bible I choose? Does it matter what God I choose? Does it matter what? Listen, you just said it was.
Yes,
You just said.
it does.
Hold on. No. Hold on. You just said, Richard, that it is evident to all cultures that there is a religion that has been given to them.
Yes.
I'm not counteracting that. I'm trying to bulwark that. So
And I
I don't
agree.
understand why it seems to me like you're fighting against your own preposition. You're
I don't know that I
presupposing
am.
this.
And that's fair.
I mean, I'm trying to establish your own presupposition of this is what you believe, and it seems
Yeah,
to me
but-
like you're pulling back from that belief
Yo,
now.
I think
Richard
there's a
should-
difference between what the angels gave and what the people believe about it.
But no,
a lot of the
See, but you're
definitions of
tying
religion are
your
going to be what
religion.
the people think about it.
But did you not just say I'm not talking about the religious practitioner? Now, as a religious practitioner, now you're tying your belief system into it, not the generic version of the word religion.
Right.
You're counteract now you're going against what you just said. I don't want to go to the definition of the practitioner, but you're applying your bias as a practitioner to your belief system.
Yes.
Your belief
My
system,
my
but your,
belief
What?
but your belief system isn't every other people's belief systems. It's not.
That's
It's
true.
not Marty's belief system. It's certainly not any of the atheists in here. It's not mine, right?
Am I
Yeah.
missing the
Right.
point?
So
I think he
the
hasn't
point
gotten
is,
to it. I think he
Well-
hasn't
well,
gotten
the
to
point-
it. Hold on.
well, the point is, what's the basic generic definition of the word religion, and can we find common ground on it, or how do we have to finesse it so we can? And until and unless we can find common ground on it, we're not proceeding anywhere.
Okay. I'm not going to argue that that's not what a religion is, right?
Right.
Or that that's not what practitioners are, the definitions you gave. It's not my concept of the intent of heaven that religion was viewed that way in the first place.
Mhm.
Okay? And that's what, to me, makes the definitions wrong. Because things like as soon as I say supernatural or superhuman, right?
Mhm.
I don't believe that there could be such a thing as superhuman or supernatural.
But you're going back to your
because-
bias, though. You're going to your practitioner bias,
Absolutely.
which you said not to apply. But you're
What
trying to
option
apply
does
it.
he have, though? That's what I don't
Well,
get.
that
Well,
was
this is
his
what I believe.
premise. It was what he said not to do, and then he's trying
Yeah,
to do
but
it.
how does one
Okay.
not?
So what I'm saying is, put your bias aside. What
Okay,
is a
let's just talk
generic-
about definitions.
What is a generic definition of the word religion? And you don't want to accept the first one. I don't know that I can. I don't know that it would be wise to not accept a peer-reviewed, widely accepted by a greater population of people definition for something a little bit
Whoa.
more, you know,
That's
Hold
the-
on, guys.
ridiculous.
Hold
that's
on, let's
the
not get
beauty-
excited.
Can I
Go
just
ahead.
say
Go
something
ahead,
real
Dirty.
quick? That's the beauty of the English language. It's a descriptive language instead of prescriptive. So you're in English, you're allowed to define terms however you want, as long as you're clear of how you define it.
That's true, because we
Thank
want to have
you.
conversation and actual
That's what I'm
communication. It's all
trying to
fine.
establish. That's
It's all fine.
exactly precisely what I'm trying to establish. I don't understand how that counteracts. my
Generally,
argument.
if you are asking me what religious people think, I can agree with the second definition.
No, I'm asking you why is it you're jettisoning the first definition and in favor of the second? What is your basis and reasoning? Meaning that if the first definition is usually the most true, which means it's been the most peer reviewed and rigorously studied and the most widely accepted, why would your bias of the second override everyone else's bias of the first?
Okay, so first of all, it doesn't work that way.
Ad populum.
It's not that the first definition is the most popular. It's addressing a different idea. Okay? The second one I thought was on topic, I thought the second definition you gave for a religion was on topic and accurate to what people think religion what religion definitionally is.
So all right,
fine.
so then a particular system of faith and worship of what?
Whatever.
No, not whatever. It's not whatever.
I would like to hear from
of what
Wesley.
Of what that people consider a god. Wesley has not been allowed to make noise because Wesley has a severe echo.
Ah, okay.
And I asked him to get headphones, and he has not yet. As soon as he does, I'll be happy to unmute his mic.
He did.
Gotcha.
He had headphones on before he turned his camera off. I saw them.
He did. Are you there, Wesley?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Floor is yours, sir.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay.
What's up, brother?
Hi.
What's up, Wes?
Just listening.
Okay. All right. So I'm failing to see the point generally, I think.
Okay, so we're trying to establish I posited. No, it's just a positing. I posited that the atheist worldview ceases to exist if there is no God.
Yeah,
There'd be no. It would not be necessary for there to be an anti-God if there wasn't a God. That's I'm positing that argument.
Okay, so if there were no concept of a God, there'd be nothing to negate.
Right.
Is that it? I totally agree.
So the fact that the understanding or the thought process of God existing in someone's mind necessitates that there could be an opposite to that. If there were no God, then there would be no atheist.
So I believe I understand what you're saying, yes. So there's no need to go outside of the box and go teaching and preaching. Why would you need to go somewhere and tell someone that there is no God if there is no God? People would simply come to that logical conclusion.
That's easily answered.
But the opposite argument could be made. Why would you need to proselytize that there is a God if God is so self-evident? So
I think
opposite,
everyone has your point.
Yeah.
Okay, David hasn't spoken in a really long time.
Good.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, wouldn't it work the opposite way? If there was no God, then everyone would be atheist. It's not that atheism won't exist. It's just that.
But the label wouldn't exist.
If no one believed in God, that would make.
This is actually why it's difficult for me to accept the label of Christian, and this is why I always say I am just a man, because people will call me that, and then I will accept it because I do try my best to imitate and follow the Christ, but ultimately I'm not a Christian. I am a man, you know?
And Sammy, I know you had something.
Yes, let me come back. There we go. I don't understand, because from my perspective, there is no God, right? I have no proof of a God, and yet people believe in it. So what's the difference? Like, there already is no God and people still believe in one. What would it be different if nobody believed in one? It's simply the term would become obsolete, yeah, but I don't understand.
So
I don't understand the overall point.
Is atheism actually a misnomer?
If there was no God, you could still make up that
that's a good question, Sammy. If there are no gods, isn't the word atheist a mislabeling of you?
No, because there are people who believe there are gods.
So as a comparative, yes, but stand alone and on yourself. You're not an atheist. You're just a person.
A man.
You don't have any God.
A man.
Yeah.
No, the definition.
But what do you call a man? What do you call a man with no God?
That's only if you have a comparative.
A heathen.
An atheist.
You call them heathens. Heathen.
You have a comparative, your own God.
Yes.
I am atheist to you. Stand alone, yes. There's no need or...
So you don't need to call yourself an atheist. You are just a man.
If you cease to exist, yes.
Well, if you cease to exist, you're dead.
No, you If all the Christians cease to exist and theists,
Wow.
then yes, I
that's
cease to be atheist.
That's a lot of hate in your heart right there, buddy.
That's just something that I don't see
How is that?
happening.
That's
There's
not
more
I'm
Did I
playing with
say
you.
I want
I'm playing
that?
with you. I'm
than
playing with you,
atheists.
man. I'm joking. I'm levity. I love you.
Yeah, this is great.
Whoa.
These are the sticking points for
Weird.
both arguments.
Wesley
It
just
really
said that
is.
we're all Muslims in the back chat. He said, "You guys are all a bunch of Muslims."
But if you're saying if there was only one person on the planet, then there would be no use describing anything.
Anything
Right.
So
about them.
Yet here's an interesting point about that. So Christians recognize that we were given dominion over the earth, and we are supposed to name the things. That's the difference. We were given dominion as men, whereas atheists, the other men, believe that we weren't given dominion, and we have no responsibility to name the thing.
Yeah, and to Brick's point, I'd like to bulwark that and strengthen that. So if I were the only person on the earth, I would still have an internal monologue, would I not? I would still have my own thoughts. I would still have my own ideas of my own reality, my own consciousness. So
if there's no God, we shouldn't name animals?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have no commandment.
You have no right.
You have no commandment, right? As an atheist individual, you have no commands. So you don't have to.
Guys, Marty's microphone is not very good, and everyone's overpowering. She's tried twice. Go ahead, Marty.
Good. She's a witch. I don't want her casting a spell on me. unless it's a good one.
I'm not going to waste my materials on you.
She turned me into a newt, but I got better.
I said,
well, at least it got better.
I said, we do not have dominion over the earth. Like, as people, we don't have dominion. We're not the top of the food chain. We don't have dominion over the planet. You know what has dominion over the earth? Disease, bacteria.
Well, that's my studies, my belief.
Any wrong virus, it can. Hello, COVID. You get the wrong virus, and there goes people. That's what happens for the earth.
I'm happy
We're
to
not
name
talking about COVID. Nobody do that.
But we're happy to name and label things. We don't need to dominate them.
Yeah.
And we don't feel we were commanded by something to dominate lesser things.
Do you dominate? Do you dominate lettuce when you chop it up and put it on your plate? Do you dominate that tomato when you dice it on your salad? Do you dominate?
I don't use dominate in that way. That's a stupid way to use the word dominate.
Just because you don't use it doesn't mean it's not an effectual.
No, I don't dominate lettuce.
Yeah, I don't.
But do you think the lettuce would like to stay in the ground?
I appreciate and use the lettuce.
Why did you dominate it by
why not
ripping it
use
out of
them
the ground?
words? Why not use them words?
You're so savage, dude.
I utilized, incorporated.
Yeah.
The
You dominated it in such a savage way that it's now in your belly, decomposing.
That's your Christian thinking. Hellfire and guilt and sin.
It's not thinking.
Yeah,
actually, this is his weird. This is just his weird
is,
sense of humor. Actually,
yeah.
No, I'm engaging your own
but he's
premise.
actually
it's not very funny
too. So for me, and I know that a lot of people on the panel are different from me. In fact, probably every single person. I don't attempt to allow the thoughts, the thinking, to control me. I do believe some things. I have faith in some things, but the thinking is a problem for me. So I don't allow it to control my knowledge. So my knowledge allows me the degree of dominion to dominate what is belonging to me, whether it's a piece of the earth that's not living or living. And of course, as I mentioned before, the entire creation to me is of the breath of life. So when I use the word dominate, of course, I'm sure Richard could probably look up a better way to say it than the English version of dominate.
Too late. Asher already did in the chat.
Did I?
And she said stewardship or custodianship.
Yes,
it's not.
We are
stewards.
We're supposed to bring it into submission. Unlike women, it's impossible.
Well, dominion.
Okay, so I'm gonna say the most unreasonable thing you've heard all night.
Good night.
Summate your thoughts. It's time for this old man to get some sleep.
Oh,
Thank you for having me. That's my thoughts.
Okay, David.
Yeah, I'm saying thanks a lot. It's been good. Cheers.
Thanks a lot for coming, guys. Wesley Curry.
Yes. Hi.
You have some thoughts you'd like to share with everyone?
Not really about what you're talking about, just listening.
Oh, he's going to shut it down.
Chat, though.
He just said he's going to shut it down, so you got it. You better get it out there, Wesley.
Okay, well, thanks for coming, Wesley. Oh, you do have something. Go ahead.
Look, you're going to be tempted with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I would love a lot of money. Is that right about that?
Free money. You are going to be tempted with 32,523 crypto or electronic dollars.
Cool.
To get that money is the emerald in the Old Testament. To get that money, you must receive the Omni branded barcode, and the Omni is the mark of the beast.
Okay.
Okay.
Most of you are going to take the mark of the beast.
I mean, I have tattoos.
Law shall be passed that you may not enter a grocery store to buy food if you do not have a barcode branded into your right hand wrist or your forehead. Now, Jesus told you, tell the vision and you shall not need the mark. That Omni,
when will this happen?
After the nuke in Chicago. After the wheel in the middle of the wheel in Chicago.
Do you know when that's happening?
I do not know what date, but I have seen it, and I have met the 4 engineers that built it. And I have contacted the FBI, and I've had the FBI, 2 officers in my house, and I told them every detail I know about them and about that device.
So what did they say?
They said, don't tell anybody while we're holding our investigation.
Did they do the investigation?
I do not know.
Yeah, so you broke the rules. They told you not to tell. You're going to be, busted.
It's impossible to stop it.
Okay, fair enough.
It is in the Bible. It is that mystery of the wheel in the middle of the wheel, the fire enfolding in itself, the angels with the wings that go up and the wings that go down.
That's
and the
the
hands
nuke,
that are
right?
going.
That's
the nuke.
Okay. Yeah, man.
Hell
In which
day.
city?
Chicago.
Chicago.
So once the nukes hit Chicago, then we'll know not to take the barcode, right?
The barcode
Good time
comes.
to be in Australia.
Satan gets cast. Satan will be cast to the earth that day. He's not on earth in the flesh right now, but he will be put on the earth in the blink of an eye. A man will appear in a wilderness, and his name is Satan or Baal or Lucifer. He has many names. He is going to be cast to the earth that day by Jesus, and he begins his reign of terror and lies and destruction and tempting. He's going to meet with the Emirates. He's going to secretly meet with the Muslim oil banks, where you and I have bought gasoline for the last 50 years. They've been socking that money away. Trillions. And they have enough to give every man, woman, and child on earth $32,523.
Jeez, so what do you think is going to happen to the price of things? Everything is going to instantly go to $32,562.
Come on, greed is going to reign. Everything is going to. It's going to cost $40 to get a bag of Omni tuna, and the Omni tuna is going to be your children.
Oh,
It's not going to be a happy shopping experience.
so that's the food you get when you get the mark of the beast? You have to get the Omni tuna?
The day that Satan is cast to the earth, Jesus is also going to put Moses and Elijah at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. And they are going to be telling the vision from Jesus. And if anyone tries to harm them, whoever tries to harm them will fall dead. And for 3.5 years, they're going to be at the Wailing Wall, and they're going to be praying to Jesus. And some of their prayers are going to be prayers like, Jesus, would you make it that no seed that grows corn or food is able to grow in the earth? And there will be a famine because there's not going to be any food.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So, do you think the Bible's 100% true, Wesley?
I read only the King James Version, and I know in my heart and am honest in saying it is the perfect, unchanged word that Jesus Christ spoke. The same way Jesus appeared to you on August 25th in the year 2005 and said, tell the vision, is the same way Jesus appeared to Moses and gave him the first 4 books of the Old Testament, is the same way Jesus appeared to David and gave him the Psalms, is the same way Jesus appeared to Mark and Luke and John and gave them exactly
I don't remember that. How come none of us remember that?
I don't know. I don't see how you can remember anything when you interrupt somebody before they finish speaking.
Yeah, but you said that Jesus spoke to me on August 5th, 2005.
Look, you're not going to hell because you're honest, okay?
Well, yeah, well, good.
What does Matthew 24:23 say there?
Why don't you tell us?
Oh, it says something about those who say, look, there is the Christ. You know what that scripture says, right?
Jesus, would you put the taste of honey in every one of those mouths in this same minute, please?
So you're the one saying it, not me.
I'm the little book in Revelation.
You are saying it.
Does anybody taste honey? He just made a prayer for us to taste honey.
Like I said, you're going to be in hell really soon, and you're not going there because you're good, honest.
What is hell?
Well, I live in Georgia, so that's got to be pretty close.
What is hell? Give me the definition of hell.
I'm in Australia. If that is not hell,
I'm going to push back because your definitions and your scriptures, you're throwing out numbers. Ultimately, you're an apostate.
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you want the answer to hell? What hell is?
You're throwing out scripture.
It's a burning trash pile.
Scriptural nonsense. You're mixing and mincing and then saying Jesus is here.
Jesus, would you make him gnash his teeth? Gnash your teeth off.
Is that same thing?
Wait a minute. The Bible says not to pray for your enemy's downfall, or not to.
I just prayed for you. I just prayed to Jesus that you be given the taste of honey in your mouth, and he did. And
but
you lied.
But he didn't do it. No, nobody tasted the honey. Dude.
He lied.
No, nobody tasted the honey.
I'm just trying to be
my
fair
internet
with you.
failed, and it just came back on.
Oh,
and
welcome back.
Wesley started speaking. I was like, Richard just up and left.
Yeah, I did not voluntarily leave. No insult to anyone at all. So did you guys get the prophecy that he's trying to? Did you hear it?
Yeah,
I heard a lot of it.
That was
great. Brother Wesley Curry, thank you so much for sharing what you believe, and thank you so much for sharing your wrapping up thoughts. I really appreciate it. So, Marty, final thoughts, please.
You have to follow that, Marty.
I know.
Just say what is true for you.
Well, I could really use $32,000, so that would be great. No, I had a good time tonight. It was, thanks for having me on, Richard. And I have 2 books on Amazon. My new book is called Dead to Me.
Yeah, and I don't see the links in the side chat, so I don't know what people are supposed to do to find them.
I was trying to get the link, but it wouldn't let me copy it because it's too long.
Yeah, put it in the back chat, and it'll let me put anything up there. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to visit every one of you. When I do what I tell you to do, and when I ask you to do something, do it.
Nah, I'm all right.
That's the new book.
Whoa!
Okay. I really hope.
Is every...
Don't visit
You all didn't react enough to that.
Yeah.
You all in shock?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
React to what? What did I miss?
Oh boy, what did you?
I'm going to come and see you all individually, and when I do exactly as I tell you. Goodbye.
Okay, so I do understand that the gentleman thinks he's been given certain privileges by the God. Okay,
right,
and he believes that he will be germane during end times. Okay, but I think we all recognize what's going on there, and personally, I look forward to the day that I find him in heaven.
Me too.
And he knows all of the truths that he will ever need.
Yeah, my brother.
And until then, I feel sorry for anyone who has such kinds of problems, and I won't make fun of the man. Okay.
Yeah, I love my brother, my younger brother, man. It's an unfortunate thing, but I love him, and that will not change.
Marty, while you're working on that, Brick Jonesy, wrap up your thoughts for the night, make your final argument, etc.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for having me up, D-Doc, and the panel. Very diverse panel. Wonderful, wonderful evening. Always great to see my good Christian brothers, as I would call them, and then, of course, any other decent fellows, human beings on the earth. D-Doc, wonderful panel, brother, man.
They are amazing. Yeah.
Excellent host. Excellent host. So
don't leave before you sub to me. I'll find my links.
Oh yeah, what's your?
Okay.
I thought I'm not subscribed to you, Jimmy. I didn't even know you had your own channel.
What?
Oh yeah.
What's your channel called?
420 Atheist.
Oh wait.
420 Atheist. I will make sure to get that down.
And he's got a secondary channel, Watchtower Watcher.
Heard. Yeah, just put it in the
Here
back
we
chat,
go.
brother man. Yeah. And I will get it before I leave. So yeah, to go on forward. My final thoughts are going to be similar to some of my opening thoughts, my opening views. Eat healthy, enjoy life. I love those 4 words. And if you live by those 4 words, generally speaking, you're going to do well. When I say eat healthy, that's not just food. What you take into your mind and your body and your soul is so important, because that's the kind of man or woman that you're going to become. That's the things that you're going to incorporate to have dominion over your body. Your body is your temple, so treat it with respect. As far as belief systems and all of that goes, I have another little saying that I like to share with everybody all the time. All isms, they are prisms, as in a prison for your mind, right? So again, going back to why I call myself just a man, and yes, a lot of people would consider me a Christian. I also would consider myself a Christian. So let me make that clear. But ultimately, in the end, if I go back and, and in spirit form, if my life goes back to the Creator, and I'm presented as a form of creation, I'm not going to have this body after I die. That life that is in me, that spark, that beauty that doesn't need reason, by the way, it has no need of reason. It was a gift It was a gift, and I accepted that gift, that it's beautiful. And so I appreciate it. And when I go back, I will not be a man. I will simply just be a spark, that life. And if he decides to recreate me in human form, that is his choice. And so that, again, too, is beautiful. So be careful with your belief systems. In my opinion, they can lead you down some dark roads. And so that's one of the things that I would say try to avoid at all costs. And I really appreciate the panel, D-Doc. Wonderful panel. Continue forward in your journey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Who hasn't gone? We got Batman and really Sammy.
I'll go. Really good to meet you, Brick. I look forward to some good future conversations. So I think we have a good common ground we can start from. And yeah, as always, Richard, fucking awesome conversations, mate.
You guys were. Thank you so much for that.
Unbelievable. Love you all.
Batman, are you even there to unmute? And that's what he had to say to finish. So again, thank you all very much. Please, really, really powerful words. His silence says so much. Yeah, you guys add to my life in ways I can never repay. And I can't even say that as much as I'd like to be able to, as deeply as I'd like to be able to. But my command of the English language is not that good, and I'm not a poet. So the best I can say is thank you, and I appreciate it. And until next time, guys, peace and respect to you all.
Peace.